gamers! We love Pokemon, don't we? We certainly do. I'm in my Pokemon loving era. Gen 9 might have gotten a bit of a hate over the time, but I loved it all the same. It renewed my love for the series. But let's go back to the origin point. When I first played Gen 1, as we're going to rank every single Generation 1 Pokemon in the best way I know how. It goes from F to S. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to be using the F a lot. I love most of these Pokemon. The starters. The Gen 1 starters. Say what you want about Gen 1. They've been nostalgia pandering for so long, especially Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is so guilty of this, of, oh my god, guys, we're doing a nostalgia event. Do you guys want to do Kanto again? Whoa. Do you guys like the starters? But you guys have to admit, these stars are just really solid stars. I think you can't go wrong with any of them, even though there's one that clearly gets way too much love than the rest. I think you have to give it to these stars. I think they are probably overall my second or third set of, as a set of stars, I think they're probably like the top three. They have to be. They have to be in your top three, and I accept no imitations. I'm going to put them straight in the A tier. I love them. I love them a lot. Except Bulbasaur. He's my ninja. He's my ninja game. I'm a Bulbasaur guy. Which one did you have as a kid? Bulbasaur makes it to the cookout. The rest of the other two, I like them. I like them. But the Bulbasaur is my go. Who's your go? But then we get into the middle forms. The middle forms, eh? Now, I think there's going to be a bit of a trend when it comes to the middle forms. The middle forms tend to be a bit, they're definitely like the teenagers of the Pokemon world, in that they're not as cute as the first forms, but they're not as cool as the last ones. I think these ones are pretty solid overall. Considering the nature of middle stage Pokemon, they could have done worse than this. I think Wartortle definitely has a cool looking tail, doesn't he? It's this really fluffy tail, which some would argue should have like been a factor in Blastoise's design, but it unfortunately wasn't. Ivysaur was just like a chunkier Bulbasaur. Charmeleon's got a nice shade of red about him, so they have a bit more to them. They have a little bit more, but I think overall they're not really like winning too many hearts and minds. But I still like them. I still like them a lot. I'm gonna put all three of them in B. I'm not gonna discriminate against one in particular. So I'm gonna slap them all there and call it a day. And then we get onto the final forms again. Oh my lord. Come on. If you're gonna show like a 5-year-old kid 3 sets of giant Pokemon, it's like you get this giant plant monster, a fucking dragon, or a toe with guns. It's like, what the hell, man? It's like a kid invented these. I love these starters. Like you get some people make so many arguments about like the later games having like overly designed starters, or they're a bit too like anthropomorphous, or they're too bipedal, or like all of these shenanigans. But like these are just like a fucking monstrous set of these Pokemon put the Mon in Pokemon. These look like genuine monsters. If you saw any of these, they would not be your friend. I think that's like the appeal of a lot of what the older Pokemon designs had, and I think they are accentuated perfectly in these 3 starters. Honestly, I absolutely love these starters a lot. Now, there's one that Game Freak seems to love way more than the rest. Now, I used to have my beef with Charizard. I really did. But, you know, I've come to terms with him. I think he's okay. Me and you are okay, Charizard. We really are. I'm going to put all 3 of them over here as well. Except Venusaur, because he's the GOAT! Yeah! Venusaur, my ninja! I was always a Venusaur kid. Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Solar Beam, everyone died instantly. That was my strategy as a kid, and it panned out expertly. I love Venusaur. He's clearly the better of the 3, I would say. Charmeleon gave Ash hell in the Indigo League. I think this was, do you know what, even as a kid, I kind of didn't like Charizard, because it's, like, if you guys remember in like season 1 of the anime, Ash lost on like the Indigo League, because his Charizard just didn't want to fight anymore. He just sat there and lied down. His lazy ass just sat there and did nothing, and he got disqualified. And Ash was so sad and upset. I remember that episode of the anime. I was like, fuck Charizard, bro. You should have gone with a Venusaur. That's what you should have done with. You make your way to Route 2 to find a Caterpie, an itty bitty little Caterpie. Now, when it comes to Route 1 bugs, to be honest, Caterpie, even I love me some Gen 1. I'm a Gen 1 Andy, as I'll say to the heavens. But Caterpie's definitely one that isn't really winning too many hearts and minds for me. I did like him in the anime. He was pretty adorable in the anime. Ash had one for a very short while. But when it comes to like the Route 1 bugs, Caterpie is one I don't really have too much to say about particularly. I had Pokemon Yellow, so Caterpie was more common, so I ended up seeing a lot of those. But Caterpie in particular, I don't really think too much of personally. He's only one of few Pokemon that can't learn a TM. So he's got that going for him. There's that one in Mystery Dungeon that you end up rescuing as your first rescue mission. He's a bit of an adorable little bit fella. But Caterpie, personally, he hasn't really done too much. No strong feelings, honestly. But then we get into Metapod. Now, you'd think I would say the exact same thing about Metapod as I would about Caterpie, in that it's just kind of the cocoon stage. It's the middle child of the Caterpie line. It's not the one you're here to see. But Metapod has a very special place in my heart because it's just a really, really, really funny Pokemon. Now, when I say that, it's mainly because of this one scene in the anime, which I've got, which I want to show you guys right here. Ash versus Espresso knows Ash versus Samurai. So he has this pincer. Ash has a fantasy. Hang on, he thinks, oh my god, the pincer's gonna go in there. The pincer's just gonna straight up kill him. I was like, no! By using Harden, the Metapod ends up surviving the pincer's horns and just it wins. It wins against the pincer. That was amazing. If that wasn't amazing enough, so then Samurai sends out his own Metapod, and you can guess where this is going immediately. And then Misty's just like, she's in a sunbathing suit. She's like, hey, let me catch a tan real quick. The implication is this battle took hours. They were just sitting there for hours. Pure comedy. I think a lot of the Indigo League is pure comedy. If you guys have never seen the first season of the anime, it's Pokemon at its finest, which is Pokemon when they didn't exactly know what Pokemon was. So they kind of had to freeball a lot of the stuff. And as a result, it ends up having some of the most comedic scenes in the entire series by a country mile. So Metapod, you know what? For that one scene alone, I kind of love you. I'm not gonna lie. That scene gave me belly laughs when I first rewatched it, so I had to give it its flowers. But Metapod, you can stay there. And Butterfree, my ninja. If you're catching a Caterpie just like Ash did, you evolve into a Metapod and then quickly evolve it into a Butterfree. Oh, Butterfree, my beloved. I had so many Butterfrees as a team when I was a kid, and in so many instances did I box them by the time I got to Celadon City because I realized it wasn't really that good, unfortunately. It was the sad reality of realizing that the early game bugs exist so you can get the concept of evolution down relatively early, and towards the mid game and late game, they end up petering off, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. But that didn't stop me from enjoying Butterfree as is. I think the first time I played Fire Red Leaf Green in honor of Butterfree, I ended up using one of those as well. I ended up teaching it Psychic. There's a guy who gives you Psychic in Saffron City. I ended up going there and teaching this fella Psychic. For some reason, you can learn Psychic, but you can't learn any flying type moves in Gen 1. Don't quite know how that works. There's a lot of weird chicanery like that. I think Venomoth is the same thing. There's a lot of weird instances where insects can learn telekinetic force, but they can't learn to flap their wings. Not sure what that's going on there, but I'm glad Game Freak fixed that in the later years. I love Butterfree. he's a lovely fella. Ash's one in particular in the anime was definitely one to note as well. But then he ends up finding a pink Butterfree and ends up like romancing her with Riz, and I'm just like, oh man. Ash ends up, it's the saddest scene ever, and it made Butterfree. It left a hole in my heart, and I miss that Butterfree every day. I really do. Butterfree is my guy. I used him in the Nuzlocke and brought it to the end. It wasn't a good choice, but the right choice. A Butterfree with compound eyes goes really, really hard. Honestly, it goes really, really hard. I love Butterfree. A lot of it has to do with the anime. Some of it has to do with the games and teaching it Psychic and bulldozing through Lavender Tower when I was a kid. But I adore Butterfree. Butterfree's one of the cool ones. Definitely not the best to battle with, but I adore him. And then after that, we get to the other Rat 1 bug. Now, of course, since I had Pokemon Blue, Weedle was able to be found in Pokemon Blue, but it was just the rarer of the two. Sometimes they do that. They don't make Pokemon exclusives, but they make them like rarity exclusives, I like to call them. Like Caterpie, I think, was like 30% rarity in Viridian Forest, whereas Weedle was only like 5. So it was a lot harder to find them. So I never really got too much experience with Weedle, but I did love this little guy, mainly because he could poison everything. I remember the first time I figured out status ailments and like how annoying it was when the bug catchers would constantly poison your stuff. But when I caught a Weedle and I was able to poison all of their stuff, I was like, oh, yeah, now I get to poison everything. And then you get to Brock and you decide to bring your Beedrill so you can poison his Geodude to help you whittle it down. And then you realize this fucker has full heals. Why is the first gym leader have full heals? I mean, I guess it's to stop the poisoning chicanery, but that's not fair. It totally bummed me out as a kid. But Weedle itself, God, it was the bane of my existence in Viridian Forest. But I think he's solid. I like him more than Caterpie, mainly because I just remember as a kid just poisoning everything in their mother, just poisoning them all to death. Kakuna, my ninja. Now, as you can see on the other tab, I have a list of all the old school Gen 1 sprites. Now, when it comes to Kakuna, I want to show you guys something really, really interesting when it comes to Kakuna. But the joke now is that he's wearing a tie. It's business suit Kakuna. He's going to go for his 9 to 5. He's a corporate entity. This is the vice president of a Fortune 500 company. But in this old sprite, he just has claws for some reason. You're going to see a lot of these in the old Gen 1 designs. You might be able to eyeball them if you're just seeing them right here. A lot of them have these weird design quirks that just never made it to a future game. And this is one of them. He just had claws for no reason. I didn't know why, but they took me guys' claws away. Other than that weird design quirk, I don't really have too much to say about Kakuna personally, so I think he's just going to join Caterpie. Beedrill. Now this gamers. Now Beedrill's a Pokemon. Beedrill's my fella. I just love the old style of Pokemon design where it's just, let's just make a bee and it has like just giant fucking spikes on his hand and it's got a fat ass, and then when you make it a mega, it has even more of those. Just make a giant bee. Also, this bee is like what, like 4 foot tall as well. This isn't a tiny bee, by the way. This bee's like 4 foot tall. It's probably taller than some of you in the chat. I think in a lot of the old Gen 1 playthroughs I used to do, I used to alternate between having a Butterfree and having a Beedrill. I really like Beedrill a lot. I think he had, I think his exclusive move at the time was a move called Twin Needle, which it was the only, like, it was one of the few bug type attacking moves. So ironically enough, if you wanted a bug type offensive Pokemon, Beedrill was your go-to. Ironically enough, he's also weak to Psychic, the one type he could potentially beat with those bug moves, which was very unfortunate because Gen 1 was full of those. But it was really fun just having a bug type Pokemon that could do bug type moves. It was the only one of its kind, really. And just design wise, it looks really dope. Gen 1 was just giving animals cool powers, simple but effective. Yeah, there's just something very nostalgic about it. Looking back on it, like, I don't mind modern Pokemon design. You're gonna get a lot of people that really hate modern Pokemon design. Oh, it looks too kiddish or whatever. And to some degree, I can kind of see it, because like when you see like these old Pokemon which are just like giant regular animals or just regular animals with cool things, you're just like, man, there's just something so simple about it, and I really, really liked it. Yeah, Beedrill's one of the homies. When someone says, oh, I'd love it if Pokemon were real, they're not thinking about Beedrill. They're definitely not thinking about Beedrill. Absolutely not. And then we get to the generic birds of Gen 1. We get into the Pidgey, like, or at least the first one, should we say. The first of a tradition. The later gens had Noctowl, Swellow, even Staraptor, even Talonflame. But at first, they were just like, hey, let's just take a regular ass bird and just make it a Pokemon. I don't really have too much to say about Pidgey personally. I do remember as a kid when I was training up my star Pokemon in the regular grass before I fought my rival on the Route 23. I remember I would deliberately avoid running into level 5 Pidgeys. If you're wondering why, level 5 is when Pidgey learns Sand Attack. And Lord knows in Generation 1, Sand Attack is just something it's just no fun. If accuracy drops are not fun now, they were even worse in Gen 1. I think one accuracy drop lowers your accuracy from 100% to 66% in one fucking go. Avoid the level 5 Pidgeys. The XP probably just isn't worth it, I'm going to be honest with you. But Pidgey itself, I don't really think too much about Pidgey, if I'm being honest. I don't hate it enough to go here, even though I probably could. I don't blame it if you did, but I'll just leave it here. Also, I think it's responsible for one of the weird eccentricities behind the anime. I think Ash ends up bumping into a Pidgey. Oh, it doesn't show the part, but like there's this bit here where like Pidgey's like eating a regular worm. Like, it's not a Pokemon. It's just a worm. I guess now you could probably say it's an Applin without an apple, I suppose. But it was just eating like a regular worm. So it's just like, do regular animals exist in this Pokemon world? It was one of those weird continuity things that they didn't exactly know how to figure out when Pokemon was in its infancy. But they've since figured out now. I guess there's no real animals in the Pokemon world now. He ate an Orthworm. Yeah, probably a baby Orthworm, didn't they? That's very sad, honestly. I think Pidgey's evolutions are mid. Oh, no. You're not going to like what I have to say about Pidgeotto. Oh, man. Pidgeotto. Now this is a bird. There's just something about Pidgeotto that I thought was so cool as a kid. Even when I saw it in the anime, when I saw it in the games, like when you see its chunky ass fucking original sprite as well. It looks so cute. It looks so cute and pudgy, doesn't it? I love this sprite. I'm so nostalgic for this sprite because he looks so pudgy and cute. Honestly, he really, really does. I love Pidgey. I love Pidgeotto a lot. I'm gonna be honest. But if you expected me to hate Pidgeotto, the main and its old pudgy Gen 1 sprite, I like it a lot. I really do like it. I think Pidgey had a great glow up. I'd probably rank Pidgey in D, but Pidgeot would be an A. Oh, and speaking about gamers, oh my god. Oh my lord, Pidgeot. I absolutely, listen. If you expected me to hate Pidgeot, I'm going to be really, really sorry. I'm going to be really, really sorry for him. because I can remember, if I close my eyes now, I can just remember it. I remember just having my Pidgeotto. I think at this point, my Venusaur had evolved. My Eevee, I'd used a stone to evolve it to Jolteon. I think my Vulpix, I'd used a fire. My friend at school told me there's a Firestone evolved with Ninetales. So at this point, all of my Pokemon, I'm like in my mid-30s. I'm attacking Silph.co. All of my Pokemon are fully evolved except Pidgeot. I'm like, doesn't Pidgeot have another? I think I have another form, doesn't it? I haven't seen it in the anime. I haven't seen my friends talk about it. Surely. And then you reach level 36 and you get this big, fat, chunky, beautiful, but oh my lord. That was like a moment I'll never forget as a kid. That was like one of those moments where you turn up your Game Boy because your Pokemon is evolving and you want the whole world to hear. You will do that, okay? Everyone does this. So Pidgeot for me, I'm gonna be honest, it's mostly nostalgia and vibes. Because Lord knows the anime didn't do this Pokemon justice. Ash evolved his one to a Pidgeot and immediately let it go. And I was so pissed about that. But Pidgeot in the games, good lord. It's Gen 1 sprite though, I'm gonna be honest. If we're doing Gen 1 sprites again, I don't actually like it a lot. This one here, this one in particular, I do not like the yellow sprite is really good. I like his Pokemon yellow sprite. It actually has his wings out. It looks kind of cool. But it's Pokemon Red and Blue sprite. It just looks like, why are you so small? It looks like half the size of an actual Pidgeot. Where's his name exactly? I don't know where. This is weird. Oh my lord. Whoa. What is this? Good lord, he looks like he's high. Oh my lord. I've never actually seen this one. I just remember these two. Good lord, Pidgeot, you were not done nice in the Gen 1. But if you're asking me, gamers, if you're asking me for its modern incarnation, it's one of my goats. It's one of my ninjas. Pidgeot is definitely amongst the champions. He's in the champions club. I think just that one moment as a kid of finally evolving my Pidgeot into Pidgeot, and it just looking so, and then teaching it a Sky Attack as a TM, and then giving it all these other cool moves. Oh man, Double Edge. I thought with Double Edge as well. This Pokemon was a fucking fighter for me. I absolutely adored it. Is the S tier just your first ever Pokemon team? No, I'm gonna put some other Pokemon in there. I promise. Look, Butterfree and Beedrill were my first Pokemon team, and they're not up there. Hey, don't accuse me, okay? I'm gonna get into some other Pokemon, I promise. But then we get into rats. We are the rats. Are we the rats, gamers? Rattata and Raticate. Now I have another one of my Boomer Gen 1 stories when it comes to Raticate, but let's talk about Rattata first. Rattata in and of itself is just that Pokemon that's just fucking everywhere, and I didn't really care. And just like every Pokemon that's just by default everywhere, you don't really care too much for it, I'm gonna be honest. I do have to give it props for one thing. If I say the fear strategy, do you guys know what that is by any chance? Oh man. Focus Sash, Endeavor, Quick Attack, Rattata. It's not another Pokemon who use fear, but multiple Pokemon fit this role. I can't say, I am not confirming or denying that one time I brought my Heart Gold Soul Silver to my mate's house and I used the fear strategy and I pissed him. I can't confirm that. But I may have done it. It's a very, very cheesy strategy. So, but doesn't it go up a tier for fear, guys? Do I move it up a tier for fear? I don't know. You know what? It would have been in bland. It actually would have been bland. But I'll move it in C. For not being too bland. I remember being bullied by a level 1 Cottony Showdown one time. It was devastating. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for you. I really, really am. But I do think that I should give Raticate. What about Raticate? Raticate is a very interesting Pokemon in a strange way. It might just be a generic Route 1 rodent, and it is. But I think when I was a kid, I ended up having one. I ended up training one as a kid because I replayed Gen 1 so many times as a kid. I ended up basically raising every Pokemon in the game. And when I had a Raticate, I realized something very, very strange about it. That this is what the first normal type where I had that experience where you realize, wait, hang on. Normal types can just learn everything, can't they? Bubble Beam you get from Musty, he can learn it. Thunderbolt you get from Surge, he can learn it. Fucking Ice Beam that you get in from the roof of Celadon department store, he can learn it. This is like the first normal type to teach you that normal types are just weird and busted in a weird way, that they can just learn a lot of elemental attacks they're probably not supposed to. I remember teaching mine Dig. You get Dig off the Team Rocket grunt that ended up trashing a house in Cerulean City. And Dig in Gen 1 was 100 power. So Dig on a Raticate ended up going really, really hard for for me in that playthrough. He ended up obviously hitting a wall once his stats didn't cut it, but for a good chunk of the game, this Raticate was fucking deadly. It was deadly. Now, onto the thing I don't like about Raticate. Raticate has 2 exclusive moves, actually, if you guys didn't know. Raticate's he's a very greedy fella. You guys might not know what they are because one of them's been destroyed. He learns both Hyper Fang and Super Fang. Now, Hyper Fang is a fun move. Hyper Fang is actually a very, very fun move because it's as you can see, it's a very, very strong move. It's 80 power. 80 power. And I think Rattata learns it extremely. Look at that move. He gets an 80 power move at level 14. Bruv. But one thing that annoyed me about this move is that after he learns Super Fang, you're like, oh my god. It took him to level 41 to learn Super Fang. And remember, in Gen 1, you had no idea what moves did. Unless you looked it up on what internet, it's the fucking 90s, you didn't know, right? So then I was like, oh my god, Super Fang. Ended up teaching it Super Fang in place of Hyper Fang because I thought it was the better Fang. But it turns out, if you guys don't know what Super Fang does, it just fucking cuts the Pokemon's HP in half. That's all it does. So I was using I was like one-shotting everything with Hyper Fang as a kid. And then I got Super Fang, and I couldn't kill everything. And because there was no descriptions, I couldn't figure out what the fuck this move did. So I was just sitting there confused. Why is Super Fang not killing everything? Why is everything surviving? I don't know what's going on here. I guess it can also go through type immunity, so I can also hit ghost types too. I suppose I can hit Agatha's Gengar if you're interested in that. But man, it was so frustrating. I got rid of Hyper Fang for you, and there was no move relearner neither. So fuck you for that, Raticate. I hate you. I hate you lots. You can stay here though. I don't hate you actually. But then we get into I was gonna say underrated, the overlooked child of the generic bird family, Spearow and Fearow. Big Pidgey has done a lot of work. Big Pidgey has spread an agenda to make sure that everyone loves Pidgeot. In the very first episode of the anime, the Indigo League anime, if you guys don't know, the iconic scene is where a bunch of Spearow are attacking Ash. He's stealing Misty's bike to right away get away from them. He crashes the bike. He's on the floor. Pikachu's like on the floor. He's like injured. And then Ash goes, "Come and get me!" And all the Spearow are just about to kill him. And then Pikachu jumps over his shoulder with a Thunder Shock charged from the thunderstorm that's happening. Ends up completely decimating all 20 of the Spearow. And Ash and Pikachu are best friends forever. Now, this did major damage to Spearow's image. Even me as a kid, no one liked it. But Big Pidgey doesn't want me to tell you this, guys. I think we were wrong. I think we were wrong to doubt Spearow. So firstly, it actually gets a stab move in Peck. Gust in Gen 1 was not a flying type move. It actually gets a stab flying type move. So if you catch one before going into Viridian Forest, you have a much easier time training this with the various bugs of Viridian Forest. Not only that, but then it also gets Fury Attack as well, relatively early on. Just like Rattata got Hyper Fang so early on for that difficulty in the game. It got Fury Attack as well. Not the best move, but by that stage of the game, very, very strong too. And not only that, but it reaches its final form at level 20 instead of having to wait till level 36. So for the portion of the game it's bound to be the most useful, Fearow's got your back, he's got you covered there. And not to mention, of course, the iconic Spearow, Kenya himself. If you guys don't know this, I think there's a guy on north of Goldenrod City who ends up asking you, hey, can you deliver a package? Could you deliver some mail for me? And instead of giving you actual mail because that'd just be too easy, he instead gives you a Spearow, which has a mail attached. And you're supposed to give that mail to the other guy. The joke is you can take that mail, give it to a different Pokemon, and then give the guy a different Pokemon. So you essentially get a free Spearow. But in the speed run of Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver, I think this Spearow ends up actually being your designated flying Pokemon that actually fast travel. So Spearow also has a bit of, speed running notoriety as well. So while Big Pidgey has done a lot of bad PR for Spearow, I've realized it's actually not that bad. I actually kind of like Spearow. The more I read up about Spearow, I'm like, you know what? I wasn't familiar with your game. I actually kind of like you. I want to put you here. Spearow sucks though. And then we get into the slippery little snaky snake time. The only thing I really have to say about Echo, because I had Pokemon Blue and Yellow, they're the two games where you can't get Ekans, so I've actually never raised one myself, other than the funny thing where it's snake backwards and Arbok is Cobra backwards. I don't really actually have too much to say. I liked him in the anime. Ekans was actually really cool. Was it Jesse had one in the anime, ended up evolving into an Arbok just by sheer force of compassion. No, literally, I think Jesse ended up crying and saying, "We keep getting our asses kicked. What can we do?" And it ended up evolving just to be nice to Jesse. And I think she ended up giving it away to save a flock of Ekans that were trying to be poached by some random guy. So it has a nice story in the anime. And it was actually really sad seeing Jesse's Arbok go. But I have no personal stories. I have no personal anecdotes. I'm just going to put Snek here and just call it a day. As for Arbok, though, Arbok has probably got one of the coolest things in the entirety of the series. I'm going to be honest. Better put Arbok high. Trying to terrorize me, are you? Trying to terrorize me? Interesting. One thing I really love about Arbok's lore, its patterns on its chest are actually can actually be different. They can have different patterns depending. Professor Oak ends up referring to like different patterns. The Emerald one is slightly different from this one. You can see like there's slight differences. It doesn't change every gen, but there are like slight differences. They haven't really done it in modern Pokemon though. They haven't really changed its face design too much in the modern games, which is really disappointing. I would have loved it if, like, not even every gen, but like if there are regions that are like geographically really far apart from each other, they would have changed the patterns a lot more. But it's something they did in the earlier gens they just haven't really leaned to in modern day Pokemon, which is honestly a shame. I wish they did more of this. So Arbok, I'm sorry about that. You do have Intimidate, and you were very useful in my Fire Red playthrough, so I'll give you that. Arbok I like. I'll put him in B. I feel they gave Arbok a regional form that was Poison Dark type. It could lead to more patterns being more real and cursed. It could. I think, what's it? I know that Game Freak are stepping away from regional variants. They're not really doing too many anymore, but I think a regional variant of Arbok could go really, really hard on this though. Also, did you guys think this could evolve into Survivor when you were kids?
Trainers, which one of these Pokemon evolves into Survivor? Okay, trainers, if you chose Arbok, you were right.
The anime I watched as a kid literally said it. It literally spread misinformation. Check. Can you believe this? This is another rabbit hole we can dive down, by the way, guys. If you want to do this, please let me know. The Trainer's Choice segment from Gen 3 Pokemon. Good lord, what a mess that was. We'll keep you in B.
Oh, shit! A rat!
Pikachu? Can I just, like, put it there and call it a day? It's Pikachu. Like, there's got to be... I feel like even though Pikachu's, like, the mascot, he's everywhere, he's the... I feel like there's, like, one Pikachu that's your go. I feel like you have to have, like, your one Pikachu. Whether it's, like, in Gen 7 when it had all those cool, like, Z-move animations. Whether it was in Pokemon Yellow where you got to walk with one just like in the anime. I feel like there's one Pikachu that's your go. Whether it's the Alolan form in Gen 7 as well. There's got to be one Pikachu that's your go. There's got to be. There's the Fat Pikachu in Gen 8. What a nice reference that was. There's got to be. There's got to be a Pikachu that was your go. And you know, I love Pikachu. Like, the basic take. Alola Raichu I love. Regular Raichu, though? Oh, no. Raichu. I'm going to be honest, Raichu. I just feel bad for you, brother. I feel so bad for you. And it's mainly because of one thing. If you guys didn't know, they've actually, and I think the designers of the old games have actually confirmed this. There was a one line of text that confused, even I remember seeing this as a kid. In Cinnabar Island, there was a guy that would trade you, I don't know what it was, but he would trade you something and wanted a Raichu from you. So once you traded in that Raichu, if you talk to him again, you'd be like, oh, how's my old, I don't know what Pokemon is, let's just say it was like Kadabra. How's my old Kadabra doing? Oh, your Raichu's doing great. It evolved. And you were like, most of us at the time, it chalked up to a translation error. Maybe in the original Japanese game, it was a Pokemon that evolved by trade. But no, I think they've confirmed that originally, Pikachu was supposed to evolve into Raichu and then to Gorochu. This is like a mock-up of what people think it probably would have looked like. I'm so sorry for you, Raichu, I really am, because nothing about you inspires any sort of joy. It really does not at all. But Musty is chunky, leave him alone. I've just never been that big on Raichu. I'm so sorry, guys. Do you know what I will do? I will do this. I'll do this. How about that? He's better than Firo. Sandshrew was always a little cute fella, wasn't he? I really liked Sandshrew. I didn't really use Sandshrew too much because Sandshrew was in a really odd position where fucking you caught him west of Cerulean City, but the next gym leader was Musty, and you're just like, what am I supposed to do with you, blood? Like, he's fantastic against Lieutenant Surge, but Sandshrew, like, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, if I'm being honest. Sandshrew himself, though, whenever I did raise one, he was always really, really, really cool. I like Sandshrew, mainly because he had that thing, you know, like, there've been some Pokemon that learn, like, really good moves early on. Sandshrew is one of them. Sandshrew actually learns Slash. He learns Slash, I think, at level 19. Critical hit moves in Gen 1 basically always crit. It's like 98%, 99%, blah, blah, blah. But basically, if you had a high critical hit move, it always crit. You'd be more unlucky for it not to crit than to crit by a country mile. So the fact that it got a move that always crit so early on is utterly insane. And he became he's an early game power. What if you manage to get through Musty? Obviously, he's not going to be useful against Musty. But once you get past that, he's a fucking powerhouse. And not to mention, he evolves at level 22 relatively early on to Sandslash. And you got the Dig TM that's right there. Look at that sprite, gamers. Look at that sprite and tell me he's not a cute. Go on, tell me he's not a cute Patooey. Tell me you will not take him home. This is a cute sprite. Okay, this is my sprite. This is my go. And I'm gonna put him. Do you know what I'm gonna do actually? I'm putting him up here. I'm putting him in A tier. Absolutely for sure. He's a cute little Patooey. He's a little goober. I loved him. He looks like a poorly shaven rat. Mods. Wait, Spongy is the mod. Fuck, get rid of him. What the hell? But then we get into Sandslash, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Sandslash, hey man, it is another instance where the sprites, I love this sprite. This sprite here, right, I was like, oh, this Pokemon looks so cool. So you go from a goofy little goober to the coolest mother. He's standing on business with his claws right there. He's doing the Goku trip. He got it, isn't he? Again, I never had a chance to raise too many because it was always so hard to train one past Musty. But whenever I had one, I was always so happy. I taught it Dig, a monstrous stab move. It was so ground as well, just a really good offensive. Especially in a game where a quarter of the Pokedex, I'm not joking by the way, look it up, do the math. A quarter of the Pokedex is poison type. In a gen with that, having a ground type is just insane. So in the game, he's insane. Design-wise, he stands on business. And by Gen 1 standards, even though power creep has utterly destroyed him from the face of any sort of competitive viability, I adore Sandslash. And he's going in the go. He's my ninja. We get to the Nidos. Oh my god, the Nidos? The Nido line. The Nidos. Oh. I always wondered what these two are based off. Are they like rhinos, like baby rhinos? I don't know what this whole line, I'm just confused as to what they're based off, if I'm being honest. I think I ended up looking them up on Wikipedia, oh no, on Bulbapedia, sorry, no, let me just get it right again. Nidoran may draw inspiration from various characteristics of Lego morphs or rodents with aspects of venomous animals. It may also reference the mythical moon rabbit. So I ended up looking up moon rabbit, and I'm like,
oh, hell no! That's oh, hell no!
And when it came to Nidoran male versus Nidoran female, these were the only gendered Pokemon back in the day, you know, before it went woke. Nidoran were quite neat in that I didn't really raise a lot of them. They're not really my favorite Pokemon to train, at least when I was a kid. We'll talk about later. But as a kid, they weren't really my favorite Pokemon to raise. But in Pokemon Yellow, these Pokemon were a godsend. Like in Pokemon Yellow, remember, you got Pikachu, right? So beating Brock was an exercise in absolute madness, right? There's no way you're beating Brock with a Pikachu that maybe if you train it hard enough, it will learn quick attack. But in Pokemon Yellow, they give you a bunch of options. You could evolve a Caterpie into a Butterfree to use Confusion to attack the Geodude and Onix's relatively low special stat. You could use a Mankey and use Low Kick, or you could train up one of the Nidos to about level 12, 13, I think, and it would learn Double Kick, and that would be your way to beat Geodude and Onix if you needed to be. So this is one of the Pokemon you could choose if you wanted to choose your own path to beat Brock. And sometimes I would choose them, and I would alternate between the two. I never really had one preference one way or the other. I thought they were both pretty neat. But Nidoran themselves, though, other than that, they're just okay. I don't really think too much about the Nidos themselves. And if we're going to speedrun this, because I absolutely have nothing to say about Nidorina and Nidorina, we'll also put these two here as well. I guess Nidorino is in the title screen, which is pretty neat. And Nidorina is in the intro segment. That's the only bit of trivia I've got for you guys. But then we get to the big dogs. We get into the big dogs entirely. Nidoqueen and Nidoking. I think if Raticate was you learning... Wait, hang on. Why do normal types learn absolutely everything? This is really, really weird. Nidoking is also another Pokemon that invokes that same energy. I want to show you guys. I don't want to like base it off of memory. I want to show you guys exactly how many moves this motherfucker in Gen 1 could learn. And then you get like, obviously he learns Thrash relatively early on, which is such a strong move for level 23. But just look at the litany of TMs. That's probably the longest list of TMs it could learn. You got the mega moves, which you get relatively early on too. You got the iconic body slam, which almost every Pokemon got. You got double edge if you want a bit more raw power. You've got ice beam. You've got water coverage. You've got fighting type moves. You got electric type moves. You got, of course, you got the ground type moves. You got reflect as well if you want some support. You got fire blast. Oh, you better have a burn heal for that. Rock slide if you want to deal with those pesky flying types. And guess what? He can also be your surfer. This guy had it all. Gen 1 Nidoking was a blight against society. If you had one, you had absolutely everything in your locker cupboard. On top of just being like a really cool design. Again, it just looks like he took a rhino, made it stand up, painted it purple, and just gave it a fuck ton of spikes for no reason. I remember his Gen 1 sprite being quite cool as well. I ended up quite liking it. It wasn't anything like... it wasn't one of my favorites, but yeah, this one right here. This one was my go. A 5-year-old kid would see the giant horn, all the spikes, and be like, yeah, I like that guy. I like that guy a lot, and I absolutely love this Nidoking. So if you're wondering where Nidoking goes, obviously, where did you think it was going to go? Of course, he's one of the goats. He's one of the goats. What the queen, though? The queen is basically just more of the same, if we're being honest. Because I want to show you something, chat. Do you guys know it? Do you guys know about Pokemon Stadium by any chance? It's like a 3D Pokemon battling simulator thing. Now, if you want to know something about Nidoqueen, see, I love having cast form in my chat because he knows exactly what I'm going to mention before I mention it. He's like, Musty, don't. Musty, whatever you do, don't show these children. The children do not deserve to see this. In Pokemon Stadium, for some reason, it just loves to play with its tits. I wish I was joking. You guys think I'm joking? It gives him a shake when it comes out, obviously, and then it's just like, you know, gotta make sure the ladies are comfortable. You know, it just gotta make sure the ladies are comfortable before we get into battle. You know, so obviously as a result, S tier, obviously. What did you guys think I was gonna do? I played Stadium and didn't notice. It was only the Japanese version. If you're on the Western release, Nintendo of America were like, excuse me, this is a kid's game? And also as a last minute note for Nidoking, because I know someone in the comments is going to mention it, but you can actually get a level 100 Nidoking before you do the first badge in Generation 1. Don't you guys love Generation 1 glitches? There's a lot of Gen 1 chicanery. If you want to like look into it properly, you can look into it yourself. But once you set up some chicanery, once you exit Viridian Forest and go back in, you'll get a text message that says, I came here to see friends. They're out for Pokemon fights. And then you get challenged to a battle with a level 1 Nidoking. Once it gains XP, the game's like, hang on, this Pokemon was all supposed to be level 1. What the fuck did we do? And then it quickly just panics and gives it level 100 instead. And there we go. That's how you get a level 100 Pokemon before you even fight Brock. It's actually very, very easy to pull off. You know what they say, Gen 1 was held by duct tape and dreams. And yet the only glitch I knew about as a kid was the missing no one. How does that work, huh? So I guess it was held with enough duct tape to keep it together for a full playthrough. But what about Clefairy? Clefairy! I never really trained a lot of Clefairy, but I always made sure I caught one before I left Mount Moon. I always made sure. The second floor of the basement, you could catch Clefairy. I think at 10% rarity, I always made sure I caught one because it was the only place in the game where you could catch him. It was always fun to train on because it eventually learned Metronome, and that was always a fun move to use. Obviously, as you guys might know, it was going to be originally the starter that Ash had in the anime before it was replaced by Pikachu. So we lost the chance to get Pokemon Pink, which is honestly a shame. But Clefairy's a little cutie. I do like how they've stuck to one piece of lore in regards to Clefairy, in that it does like to dance on a full moon. I think they depicted this in the anime. They depicted this in Gen 2 as well. If you go on a Monday night to Mount Moon, you can actually see the Clefairies dance in the wild, and then they eventually see you run away and leave a moonstone. That's how you get moonstones in that game. And in Pokemon Legends Arceus as well, there's a quest where if you go to, I think it's the Coronet Highlands, you can actually see the Clefairies do a little dance. Obviously, it's Gen 8, so the animation is just them doing their default happy animation. It's not actual dance, obviously, because it's modern day Game Freak. But it was nice that they kept that lore going. I actually really like that. And Let's Go Clefairy also is quite happy, I think, when you walk with one in Mount Moon. It's a piece of lore they've always made sure they reference as much as possible. And Clefairy's a little cute. I like Clefairy a lot. I'm going to put him in B. Clefairy Ball, though. I have basically everything I say about Clefairy applies to Clefairy Ball, except I like that it's one of the very few Gen 1 Pokemons in the modern day that can still hold its own in competitive Pokemon. I think even in the modern day, or relatively modern day, it can still hold its own very well. It's representing us Gen 1 boomers. I love you for that, Clefairy Ball. You at least get into B for that. How about the theory that Clefairy Clefairy and Clefairy will turn to Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar when they die. Oh, the doppelganger theory? Damn, I haven't heard that theory in a long time. Oh my god, that is a good theory. I do like that one. It's one of my favorite Pokemon fan theories, along with every single creepypasta that was made pre-2010 because I just love them all. Vulpix, Ninetales. Oh my god, the Foxy Foxes. Beautiful stuff. I have so many memories as a kid of catching one on the east of Celadon City, and I think it learned Flamethrower at like level 29, so you could just level one up a couple times. It would learn a very strong fire type move, and then bearing in mind Flamethrower wasn't a TM in Gen 1, by the way, so if your fire type did not learn Flamethrower naturally, it was never going to get you. You have to rely on Fire Blast, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Growlithe actually learned Flamethrower naturally. Only Vulpix did. So us Pokemon Bluers who had Vulpix instead of Growlithe were eating pretty good, I'm just saying. Vulpix is a little cutie, okay? Vulpix obviously goes into the A tier. One of my favorite things about Vulpix was actually going up to Mount Pyre in Pokemon Emerald as a kid. And then I never had enough Repel to reach the top of Mount Pyre to stop Team Magma and Aqua. I don't know which team it was. But on the way, I actually ended up finding a Vulpix, and at that point, no trainer had a Vulpix, so I didn't even know Vulpix was in the game. So at that point, that was me discovering that Vulpix is in the game. I was like, oh my god, Vulpix is here. And then I had this really cool move called Imprison, which stops other Pokemon from using any moves that you have. So of course I caught a Vulpix, and then used Imprison to force other Vulpix in the wild to struggle, because that was just really funny to a kid, me, seeing a wild Pokemon struggle. I'm not a sociopath, I promise. Ninetales, though, can I just, like, put it up here and call it a day? Is that... Are we doing that? Yeah, no, you need to explain. Explain these nuts, bitch. I love it when Pokemon actually references the lore behind a Pokemon in their Pokedex entries in the games. Clefairy is a good example of that. Ninetales is also an excellent example of that. One of the plot points behind the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is that, obviously, as with every Mystery Dungeon game, you wake up and all of a sudden, you're a Pokemon? What the hell? But then you figure out that maybe you weren't the best human in your human life. One of the theories about Ninetales is that if you pull on its tail, you'll be cursed for 1,000 years. So one of the quests behind Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is actually finding a Ninetales to like figure, like, to see if, like, hey, like, this guy's a human. Could you use your, like, fucking powers of psychic bullshittery to figure out whether I did I do something? Do you remember a human doing something? I need to know. I need to know. And then apparently, like, I won't reveal what ends up happening in that plot point in case someone's playing it right now. But I love the fact that they used its lore in one of its in the game. Actually, it's one of the plot points in a game. As I said, I do wish it had a secondary typing, but I love Ninetales as is. It also gets drought as well, so if you want to, you can set up a bit of sun, which is always quite nice. And its Alolan form can set up a bit of ice too. It likes the weather. It's a bit of a weatherman. I like it. Let's go to the Jigglypuff line though. Jigglypuff's a very, very weird case. I'm gonna be honest with you, chat. It's a Pokemon that is a bit like Pikachu. The powers that be have been working very, very hard to make Jigglypuff a very likable Pokemon. It had that reoccurring joke in the anime where it would randomly sing to Ash and its friends. It would put them all to sleep, and it would get angry that it was singing what's putting it to sleep. The joke being that Jigglypuff thinks it's actually singing like a good song, and then seeing that everyone's asleep, it's offended that people are sleeping through it singing, even though that's what it's singing is just doing. And the joke, and then it starts drawing on people's faces. So it has that going for it. And then it's Smash. It isn't Smash. It was one of the few Pokemon that was chosen to represent the Pokemon community in Smash Brothers. It's been given all these chances to, like, really stick out in your memory. And then, if you ask me, it's just kind of like, I'm gonna be honest, if we're talking pink Pokemon that evolve via Moonstone, I'm a bit more of a Clefairy man, I'm gonna be honest. I want to show you something. I want to show you something, guys. No, look, right there. Look at this sprite. Look at this sprite. Look at these two sprites. And tell me how Jigglypuff wasn't never the stuff of nightmares as a kid. Look at these two. Its eyes it's got different sized eyes in both of its fucking sprites. What were they doing? They're on drugs. All right. It didn't gain a lot of favor from me. Hang on. You love the fact that Wigglytuff is a serial killer. It's so cute. You are a bit of an odd fellow, Travis. I'm gonna be honest. You're a bit of an odd fellow. So let's get to Zubat and Golbat before Crobat even happened. And obviously he's the menace the menace of all society. Oh, Lord. How many times have you just been going through a cave and immediately just get... Oh, Zubat was just the... This Pokemon was designed to be an absolute fucking nightmare. An absolute nightmare. Because not only is this a common sight in caves, its only move for the longest time was leech life. There's a chance when you're trying to run away from a wild battle to get told, hey, piss off, you can't escape. Hey, you're not leaving anywhere. You have to suffer a bit more. That chance is highest when the Pokemon is faster than your Pokemon. Since Zubat is got high base speed, there's a genuinely good chance that when you bump into a wild Zubat and you just want to go, you might get told, can't escape. Teehee. So not only is it an annoyance in caves because it keeps spawning, it won't let you leave, and it'll suck the energy right from you. So you're trying to kill it, but it keeps sucking your energy, and it'll confuse you with Supersonic. Oh, Zubat, you were just the grunt default as well. I don't even want to hate you, Zubat. That's the worst part. Like, so everyone's saying F tier. Like a relatively unique typing in poison flying. Well, you might not actually. You know what? Yeah, you know what? You're gonna stay there. I was gonna say at least you can learn fly, unlike some flying types in Gen 1, but no, even Golbat can't learn fly. So if you want a Golbat to be your designated flying type, you can't even do that neither. Golbat, you can stay there at least. How about that? No, I meant no need to explain, as in I agree. Oh, my bad, quick. I'm still going to put you in the video, just for maximum slander. And then we get into the rather odd fellows, although they're not odd, they're kind of odd, so they're odd-ish, am I right? And now, of course, as I played Pokemon Blue instead of Pokemon Red, I ended up not really seeing a lot of oddish, if I'm being honest. I ended up not seeing it. Actually, it was mainly Bellsprout. Bellsprout was my guy. Do I have any personal stories? Other than in Gen 2, I'll generally catch one in Elix Forest and use that as my cutter for the one tree you're supposed to cut for the entire game. Other than that, I don't really have too much to say about Oddish. He's a cute little Cuba though. He's a silly little guy. Gloom though? Gloom always creeped me the fuck out. I'm gonna be honest. Gloom was always a creepy little Pokemon. I've just never... Can I just leave Gloom there, please? I've just never liked Gloom at all. It doesn't have anything about it that interests me. It's got like middle child syndrome at its absolute finest. I kind of fuck with Vileplume, mainly for one reason. Am I able to find it? Like its death animation in the old 3D games, was it just standing there realizing, oh, hang on, I'm dead now, aren't I? And it just... It just has X's in its eyes and just sinks to the ground. So that's the one thing I like about Vileplume. And I have to give it a... I like you for that. I like you at least for that. I'm just gonna put those there and move on.
Stop shouting.
Venonat and Venomoth are a bit of a weird Pokemon. These Pokemon are the champion of who let blood on the team. So obviously it's Koga, right? Koga is the 5th gym leader in the Generation 1 games. Now, let's go to Pokemon Red and Blue. In Pokemon Red and Blue, this is his team. Coughing, Muck, Coughing, Wheezing. Bit of a weak team. As you can see, he went for the strongest poison types, you know, in Muck and Wheezing. You know, the ones that actually learned Sludge, which at the time was the strongest poison type move. And then you get to Pokemon Yellow. Why do you have 3 Venonats and a Venomoth? The Venomoth makes sense because you had one in the anime, and Yellow is based off the anime. Who let this many Venonats on the team? This is the team he was probably supposed to have, like the strongest, his iconic Venomoth, and then 3 of the strongest poison types in the game. They fixed it in Pokemon Let's Go. Their signature move is supposed to be Toxic, because that's what he hands you at the end. But all his Pokemon have Psychic as well. And I'm like, brother, Sabrina's around the corner. You're not supposed to be the Psychic type guy. Surely you don't have another example of the Venonat line being where they don't belong. Surely you don't have another Psychic. And you have Psybeam instead of Psychic. Koga's down the road, mate. You're in the wrong spot. What's happening right now? Venomoth always confused me. Venonat's just on a side quest. Venomoth always confused me. I'm like, where are you going? It's like, you're like everywhere where you shouldn't be. Surely, Musty, you don't have another example of Venomoth being where it shouldn't be. But there was an iconic Twitch stream that happened back in 10 years ago. Jesus Christ. Back in 2014 called Twitch Plays Pokemon. Now in Twitch Plays Pokemon, it was exactly as the name implies. You type commands in the chat, you can literally type anything and the game will do it. And one of the Pokemon, one of the most iconic battles in the entire run was a Venomoth against Lance's Dragonite. Again, a fight which should be extremely one-sided. The Venomoth should easily get rolled, but due to Gen 1's fantastical AI, Lance's Dragonite sees that Venomoth is a poison type. Dragonite has a psychic type move in agility. So what this Dragonite is going to constantly do now is it's constantly going to use agility, leading the all-terrain Venomoth to win, even though it's 20 levels lower than it should be. So another example of the Venonat line being where they do not belong. It did end up winning. It poisoned it, and it ended up securing the win. So it did win. It won the battle and it won the war. All hail all-terrain Venomoth. Do you know what, Venonat? You're an odd fellow, but I must say, you're pretty chill. I kind of like you. Actually, no, I'll swap these two. I like Venom. I like Venom. That's a cute little Goober. Diglett, trio. Diglett was so cool. He had a whole cave named after him. Put your hands up, Gen 1 Andes, if you also went to Diglett Cave, caught a Dugtrio using the repel trick, and then used that to one-shot all of Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon. Me. The other thing I can say about Diglett is that apparently he has feet. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, they confirmed that Diglett has feet because one of them ended up getting kidnapped by a Skarmory and taken to the top of a mountain. So he has feet, if you're wondering what's under that dirt. Although they didn't stop the internet of the late 2000s, early 2010s. This meme, the Diglett Underground meme, was added to Know Your Meme on October 29th, 2009. So this meme is probably older than some of you in the chat right now. So of course, that didn't stop the fans speculating as to what is going on underneath Diglett, of course. Now, obviously, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Dugtrio's other point of infamy, in that in Gen 3, it is one of the few Pokemon that has the move Arena Trap. Now, Arena Trap is actually a very common strategy in Gen 3, in the Gen 3 metagame of competitive Pokemon, because Arena Trap can be used to trap in certain Pokemon that are probably weak to Dugtrio and used to get easy kills on them. It's not really an OP strategy because Dugtrio itself is actually very, very weak defensively. It's dog shit, but it can, if you can get in a Dugtrio on the right Pokemon, it can actually be a very, very useful way to take out certain Pokemon in the competitive metagame. I like Diglett. Diglett's a cute little fella. And Dugtrio, do you know what, Dugtrio? Do you know what? I thought you said Arena Trap just for that joke. You're one of the ninjas. We get on to Meowth and Persian. Oh, Meowth and Persian, huh? It's got a lot of iconic status because of the anime. Like, even Meowth and Persian's rivalry in the anime, like Team Rocket's Meowth and Giovanni's Persian, because Meowth wants to like usurp Persian as the boss's favorite cat Pokemon. So it's got this rivalry, and every single time they're doing a plan, Meowth always like fantasizes about like, oh, the Persian's gonna be gone, and Giovanni's gonna love me instead. And like the Meowth has like a very good voice actor. I like the voice actor for Meowth. Meowth itself, the Gigantamax form was pretty good. I did like it. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna leave you here. Can I just leave you here? It's just all right. Even a Gigantamax Storm couldn't give it enough love from me. I think Persian's the same, other than the weird bit of trivia in that in Gen 1, it's one of the few Pokemon that gets access to a high critical hit ratio move. And because critical hits are based off speed, Persian slashes are like basically a 100% crit rate. But even that's not enough to move it above C, if you ask me. Brad, there's two Brads in this community. There's the Green Gill Brad that you're very familiar with, but then there's another Brad. There's the Irish Brad. I've met him in real life. He's been in the Musquire Empire for like 6 years now. He's been one of the goats. His favorite Pokemon is Psyduck. I just don't see it, guys. And the anime didn't help you neither, because Misty Psyduck in the anime was a fucking terrorist, bro. And then there's those Psyduck that blocked you from going to fucking Celestic Town in Gen 4 as well. Psyduck's just a menace. Golduck is even worse, because it's called Golduck and it's called Golduck and you're blue. Why are you blue? Why are you blue? And then it's also got another one, like, unlike Ninetales, where, like, I love Ninetales. I love Ninetales so much. But there is a small part of me that's like, I wish it had another type. Golduck is a Pokemon that was basically begging. He was begging to be a Psychic type. In a gen full of Water Psychic types. Well, not full, it's just one, actually. But in a gen full of Pokemon that also got Psychic as its secondary typing. He didn't get it. Slowbro got it. Well, the Slowpoke line got it. Starmie got it. Jinx got secondary Psychic typing. Fucking a bunch of Pokemon. There's probably more Pokemon that got secondary Psychic typing. He wasn't one of them. Is it shiny Golduck gold or is it green? Do you know what? If shiny Golduck is actually gold, I will take everything I said back. No, it's fucking. Oh no, it's shiny sucks as well. It's just more blue. Oh no, that's even worse. It's one of those shit shinies. Oh no, Golduck, no. I'm so sorry. I was just going to mention this Gen 1 sprite being really... Look at this Gen 1. Look at these Gen 1 sprites, guys. Look at these... Seriously. Look at these Gen 1 sprites. This is your goat, and then this one as well. This one's bad. I hate... He just looks like a guy popping a squat. You know? And then this one, he's just too hunched over. None of these sprites look good at all, I'm going to be honest. He got the worst of it sprite-wise as well. Yeah, guys, I'm going to be honest. I'll put him in D. Not F. F is for the dredges of humanity. I'll put him in D. Yeah, you're just so bland, bro. Honestly, you needed another typing. You really, really did. But let's go on to Mankey and Primate. Oh, Mankey. As I mentioned before, Mankey's one of the few checks into Brot in Pokemon Yellow, so I've raised my fair share of Mankey, and he's just a funny little fella. I just like Mankey. Every depiction of Mankey in the anime is just them getting really, really angry for no fucking reason. There's just something about that I really like. Obviously, shout outs to Ash's Primate, the fact they'd fucking knock him out every single time. And yeah, another one of his Pokemon he gave away. I like Mankey a lot. I like Mankey a ton, honestly. I ain't got much else to say. Primate goes in A, and you probably know where Annihilate would go as well. You win. Moltres, Articuno, Zapdos, Arcanine? I thought it was like one of the legendary Pokemon. So as a kid, I was always like, where the fuck do you find this? But then you never did. I think they've retconned its Pokedex entry, I think, to say like it was one of the legendary Pokemons from the East or something like that. Yeah, look, see, they have a legendary Pokemon in the East. They retconned it because they knew what they did to us. They knew what they fucking did to us. Growlithe was a poor bastard in Gen 1. It was one of the it did learn. Oh, it learned Flamethrower, but like level 50. Oh, so it did learn Flamethrower. It just like you had to keep it at Growlithe to level 50. Remember, Vulpix was level 29. He's level 50. There's no way you're keeping a Growlithe to level 50. Like even the biggest Growlithe fans are never doing that. So as a result, I always, whenever I had an Arcanine, I'd just teach it Fire Blast and call it a day from there. There was no Flamethrower TM in Gen 1, and that's why having Flamethrower was very, very important. So learning it early was also very, very important. I think they made it as a TM in Gen 2 onwards, but in Gen 1, you were just shit out of luck, brother. So Growlithe in the Gen 1 games were pretty much just the worst of all picks. But design-wise, listen, come on. He's a dog. Guys, he's a cute little doggo. He's the dog. And then with Arcanine, have a look at this.
Look, that's Team Rocket's balloon. They must be up to no good. Arcanine, Flamethrower.
Arcanine use Flamethrower. That's a really manlet of an Arcanine right there, brother. Anime, once again, getting into some absolute chicanery. That's not going to affect my love for Arcanine. Listen. Come on! It's Arcanine! Man, using extreme speed with one of these bad boys as a kid always felt fucking goated. It really, really did. He's invited to the cookout, 100%. And then we get to the Poliwag line? You're probably expecting me to say something about the Poliwag line, but I'm going to be honest. I just don't have much to say. Cool. It was really cool how like Poliwag learns Hypnosis. It was one of the full Pokemon that learned Hypnosis, which was really, really cool. Poliwag is just okay. Poliwrath is just okay. Poliwhirl though, I actually kind of fuck with Poliwhirl. Poliwrath just feels like a angry. Someone in the chat just say it. It just feels like an angry Poliwhirl. It kind of does. I don't know what it is. I like Poliwhirl way more than Poliwrath. This is one of the instances where Poliwhirl, I think maybe because it was the anime. I think it was probably because of the anime. But Poliwrath just never really interested me. I think I only really care for Poliwrath for Chuck. Yeah, Chuck had a one with Dynamic Punch. I think in Pokemon Let's Go, I think Bruno has one. But yeah, I like Poliwrath's design a bit better, honestly. I'm looking at my notes, and I have very little. All I wrote in my notes is that in Celadon City, there's an NPC just staring at his polygraph until the end of time. That's all I have. That's literally all I wrote because I have nothing. I have nothing to say. And then we get into Abracadabra Alakazam. You're not a real Pokemon fan until you've tried to spend ages catching an Abra and you just can't get one and you're like, oh my god, fuck this fucking Pokemon. But catching one was always so cool because you got like an early access to teleportation, which was always really cool, wasn't it? Is there a single game where catching Abra isn't infuriating? I guess in the original games you can catch one, or you can get one from the Celadon Department Center? No, Celadon Game Corner. That's what it is. Celadon Game Corner, you can always get one. I have one funny thing in regards to Abra. Whenever Abra dies, he literally just goes...
Look at him shake.
I don't even care that I killed it. And it is very, very, very funny. And I hope my recreation did it justice. I'll put you in B. Kadabra, on the other hand, though. Kadabra's a funny fellow. Do you know what I'm going to do in the future? Ranking every Pokemon signature move. Because if I was going to rank every Pokemon signature move, one of my favorites has to be Kadabra's one. So from Gen 1 all the way to Gen 8, its signature move was Kinesis. Now some of you guys are like, I've never seen this move, Musty. What the fuck is Kinesis? Now, firstly, in Pokemon Red and Blue, it was impossible to get Kadabra with Kinesis because they fucked up the programming. So in Yellow, you could actually get a Kadabra with Kinesis. Now, what does Kinesis do? You just bend the animation is literally just bending a spoon in front of the Pokemon, and the accuracy gets reduced by one stage, and that's it. It's a worse version of Sand Attack. It's hilarious. I don't know why they thought that'd be a cool idea for an exclusive move, but Kadabra's pretty cool. I'll put Kadabra in B as well. Alakazam, though. Alakazam. What do you guys think of Alakazam? I hated Alakazam as a kid. And there's one main reason I hated Alakazam as a kid. Because as a kid, I could never get an Alakazam. I could never get an Alakazam as a kid because I could never trade with someone. Because my mum would never let me buy a link cable because they were expensive. All your wireless trading now. We never got to do that as a kid. We never got to do that. So as a kid, I actually never got an Alakazam. I never got one. It was such a shame, honestly. I didn't get one until I did my Heart Gold Soul Silver playthrough, where I did have a friend to trade with. But Alakazam, so I never got one. So my entire playthrough, right, of every game I ever played was, what's it? Your rival having an Alakazam that had Psychic that could destroy you in one shot. Fucking Sabrina having an Alakazam that could destroy you in one shot. Alakazam was like one of the final boss Pokemon that a lot of like the higher up trainers used to get, and it would always just one shot you every fucking time. So Alakazam, as much as I wanna put it up here, I'm gonna put it in A. I'm just gonna put it in A because I do like it, but I never got to use one as a kid. I'm traumatized, guys. I'm traumatized. I never got to have one as a kid, and I was like, I want to use the spoon Pokemon. I want the spoon Pokemon, but I always had a Kadabra. You're not there yet. Kadabra, you're one of the ninjas. Kadabra, fuck Alakazam. Fuck Alakazam. Another line of Pokemon I never got to use because I never really traded that much. But we get to the Machop line. Now, if you guys don't know anything about fighting types in the original gen, they were not that good. Fighting as a type was just not that good in the original games. They could beat Rock and Normal. Psychic type just dominated Gen 1 way too much, so you couldn't really do much. But I always liked Machoke. Do you know what I don't like about Machoke, though? Oh, it's got mad. It looks constipated. I'll put these up here. I always liked Machamp. Machamp was another example of Pokemon I didn't really get to use too much as a kid. I have used him since, and No Guard Dynamic Punches are really, really fun. But in Gen 1, I never really got to use him too much. So I can't really put him with one of the ninjas. He's not one of my ninjas. He's invited to the cookout, but he's not a ninja. You know what I mean? That makes sense. That makes sense to me. I played Pokemon Diamond and having only leveled my Torterra, Machoke got a late game saved my ass. Oh, were you one of those like one Pokemon Andes who only ever trained one Pokemon? Were you one of those? You're silly. You're so silly. You're bad. Do you know what is bad though? The Bellsprout line. Just kidding. No, okay, I was like, that's slander. Okay, I actually kind of like the Bellsprout line. The Bellsprout had like, I think the Bellsprout line is one of those examples where I think the anime made it way more iconic for me. This fight here, where Pikachu ends up so in this fight. And Pikachu ends up using a Thunderbolt against Bellsprout, but it doesn't work because it's a grass type, so it's not very effective. So Pikachu ends up getting into a fit. Look at this. This fight was hype. Look at this shit, bruv. Oh. Pikachu's like fit. He's like... Oh, he's just dodging. And then what is it? And then... Oh, look. Dink. Right on the head. It's a fucking headshot, mate. He's out of the man. And then Ash has to come and rescue. Oh man, Bellsprout ended it, bruv. That Bellsprout was iconic. I think for that one scene, I have to put him up to B. I don't really have too much to say about Bellsprout otherwise, but I think he owes it for that one scene. Weeping Bell? I'm gonna be honest. Can I leave you there, please? And as for Victory Bell, I've got one thing to tell you about Victory Bell gamers. There's one iconic thing about Victory Bell. So James had a Victory Bell in the anime. And it didn't have a, you know when most Pokemon say their name as a cry? Victory Bells would never say his name. He would just do this. Oh man, it was great. It was great. Every single time it would just scream. It would just scream its lungs out. Do you know what? You can chill up here as well, just for being a screaming fella. And then he always ate James out of he did. He was always just chomping. He was always chomping at the bits for James. Not me, eat them! Something like that. Oh man, iconic. Very, very iconic. Then we get to Tentacool and Tentacruel. The Zubat of the Seas. I mean, to be fair, listen, this is one of the, you know how like Machoke's Gen 1 design was really fucking bland? Listen, mate, you're not coming into the pub, lads. I ended up training a couple just for this, just so I could see this sprite more. Tentacool, I don't really like Tentacool's okay, but Tentacruel though, I love Tentacruel. He's a cool fella. In Gen 3, I'd always teach it Sludge Bomb on my like Pokemon Emerald playthroughs, and what Surf, Sludge Bomb, Ice Beam were like an excellent core as well. I love Tentacruel. He's one of the cool ones. He looks like the kind of guy who tell you you're kicked from the cookout. Hey, listen, if you start acting up, he will send you home. Oh, Geodude. Oh, this is going to be controversial. I love the Geodude line. I think there was something as a kid. I didn't do the type matchups when I was a kid, right? So Geodude was like resistant to like so many moves. I'm like, oh my god, I could barely hit this guy for super effective damage. Most of the moves in Gen 1 are like normal moves, flying moves. So like having a Geodude in the early game was so good for resisting. It always stayed in the fight for so long. I think as a result, I loved Geodude when I was a kid, especially after seeing Brock's one and like realizing that it was just so strong. I'm putting him in A. I love Geodude. And then Graveler was also another Pokemon. Listen, Graveler is also one of the good ones too. Even though it might just seem like bigger Geodude. As a kid, I always had Graveler. I always had Graveler when I was a kid because I could never evolve it. Now, when it comes to the Pokemon I could never evolve as a kid, I still have like enough memories of them later down the line. Maybe if I used them in Platinum or Hard Gold Soul Silver or Black and White 2 maybe. But with Golem, it's just, I've always thought Golem was kind of lame. I'm gonna be honest. I have one in my Pokemon Sleep who's an absolute monster. A shiny one, and I love him. But Golem, I'm gonna be honest, guys. Golem is just like really boring. And the worst part is, I remember as a kid, right? There isn't a single trainer in the game that has a Golem. So there's always a Pokedex entry that's blank if you never traded with a friend. So when I finally saw what Graveler evolved into, because I didn't know it evolved into anything, I thought, oh, Graveler was his final form. And I saw this and just kind of like, oh, that's kind of lame. Because with the rest of these, I'm like, oh, I want this one. I want this one. But with this one, I was just kind of like, oh. And then we got Ponyta and Rapidash. There was one cool episode in the anime with Ponyta and Rapidash where they confirm that if they like the trainer enough, the flames don't actually hurt you, which is how people are able to ride on Rapidashes in the wild, which is pretty cool, actually. It's a pretty cool piece of lore. As for Ponyta in the games, though, I never could find myself using too many because you can only ever catch one in Pokemon Mansion, which is like 7 badges in. So like you get one in that late game. I remember there was one Gen 1 Pokemon that just didn't get access to Flamethrower and was kind of mid as a result of that. Was Ponyta the one? Yeah, no, I didn't get it. It just got Fire Spin. Yeah, no wonder I didn't like this one too much. You actually did Fire Blast. And even then, for a Pokemon called Rapidash, 105? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of fast by Gen 1, but Dugtrio is faster, like Electrode is faster, I mean, there's a bunch of Aerodactyl is faster. For a Pokemon with 2 speed acronyms in its name, or like pseudonyms, whatever the word for that is, it's not really that fast. I just think they're okay. I've always just thought they were kind of okay. I love the Galarian forms more, once we talk about those. Those are way better. But Ponyta and Rapidash, just straight boring. And then we get into Slowpoke and Slowbro. There seems to be a contingent of people in the Pokemon community who love the dopey-looking Pokemon. You know, your Slowpokes, your Quagsires, any Pokemon that just looks like it's no thoughts, head empty, seems to have an extremely dedicated fan base. And Slowpoke is like one of the poster children of that, you know, along with Wooper and the Quagsire. He's got nothing, Charlie. He's got nothing in that brain of his. Slowpoke, yay. Slowpoke is the Simpsons of Pokemon. I love not thinking it's missing its peak form. Slowking is better. Probably my favorite thing about the Slowpoke is the one scene in Pokemon Journeys. One of the tails of a Slowbro ends up biting on Ash's head, and then for some reason he develops an English accent. Feeling chipper as you please.
I've become a Slowpoke master. I do it all for the sake of Slowpoke.
I just love the backgrounds, all the Slowpokes eating their tails. Oh man, it's so good. I was a very, very big fan of British Ash, but is that enough? Is that enough to make me win over? I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Even Pokemon Journeys propaganda. There's an episode like that where they were rat battling. Were they? Was that a rat battle episode?
Yo, go King, yo! Hey, Ash King, hey! Yo, hey, put your hands up! Then let's go!
I don't know anything about that, but what I do know is I know that it's Gen 1 sprite. Let me refer to the Gen 1 sprites again, gamers. Oh, here it is. I don't know why. Gen 1 sprites are so full of weirdness. Its tail is like twice the size of him. they fixed this in every other rendition of the sprite, but yeah, in the Pokemon Red and Blue one specifically, he's just munching on that tail like a lollipop. Really, it's strange. Another Pokemon I've never thought much of is Magnemite and Magneton. Back in Gen 1, they didn't really have their steel typing, so even then they were quite bland. They barely got any electric moves. I think he just got Thunder Shock and Thunder Wave. You never even got Thunderbolt. The movesets were lacking too. Even its Evo is just kind of like three of a thing. It does that trend of doing 3 of a thing that Gen 1 really loved to do, but this 3 of a thing is not enough to win me over. I like the fact that because of its red and blue color scheme in the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, I think Magnemite serves as like the police force along with Magnezone as the chief of police. But all cops are just okay in my book. Same with Farfetch'd. Oh man. Oh, Farfetch'd. What the fuck, Fetch'd, man? This is crazy. Do you know what the worst part about Farfetch'd is, right? Because if you guys didn't know, right, in the original Red and Blue, you can only get one. So even if you wanted let's say you're a Farfetch'd dandy and you're like, yes, I can't wait to get my Farfetch'd. You have to deal with your one Farfetch'd having the nickname Dux or the nickname Chiding. What the fuck is Chiding? What? The fuck is a Chiding, bro? Does anyone get is this a reference to something? The fuck is a Chiding, bro? Listen, I'm not standing my man Chiding, I'm gonna be honest. Me when I see money. That's more cha-ching. That would have been funny. And the lamery kind of continues. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, I'm so sorry. Doduo. Tell us another old anecdote, Musty. I've got another old one for you guys. If you're ever wondering how this guy learns fly. That's how it flies, by the way, if you're curious.
Uh-oh, yes, mate. Oh, that missed too.
So if you were ever curious, that's how it flies. So that's why that can learn fly, but Charizard could not learn it in Gen 1. You're kind of bland, boys. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're just really bland. Oh man. Oh, I loved you guys. I love Gen 1. I swear. Oh my god. I'm sorry, little ones. Actually, I'm not sorry. Fucking lame. Musty, tell me another story. Musty, tell me another story. I can tell you. Oh, come along, chat. Come along, chat. I'll tell you another funny story. Dugong is a funny Pokemon because in Gen 1, there are 3 types of AI. Wild Pokemon AI, basic trainer AI, and good trainer AI. In Pokemon Yellow, there is a 4th type of AI, and that's Lorelai's Dugong AI. The AI is as simple as, hey, if you can use a super effective move, use it. So if you brought a fighting type to fight Dugong, to fight Lorelai's Dugong, the very first battle and the very first trainer in the Elite Four, it would just keep using Rest because Rest is a psychic type move. And the battle would go on infinitely unless you could do more damage than the Rest heals. It would cause an infinite battle. So there's a specific type of AI in Pokemon Yellow where they will account for Lorelai's Dugong so that if Psychic would be super effective. It only has like a 25% chance to actually use rest if it's specifically Lorelai's Dugong. So that is quite funny. Not enough to move you any higher than that. Dugong's anime cry is hilarious. I've not actually... Hang on. Is Rue gonna buff up Dugong maybe? Dugong gong gong, yeah? It sounds racist. It's a Pokemon. Pokemon can't be racist. There can be a lot of things, but not racist. And Muck and Grimer? Oh my god. Muck and... Musty, tell us another... Musty! Musty, tell us another story, Musty, tell us another story. I got another story for you guys. For some reason, in Celadon City, I guess this is back when Pokemon was woke in Gen 2. In order to reference, you know, pollution and like, you know, cities being polluted. In Celadon City, specifically the Gen 2 variant, the only place you can catch Grimer and Muck is by surfing in Celadon City. Oh, the pollution, man. Oh, the pollution. There's so much pollution in the seas, guys. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Ash's one is also pretty funny. It completely just body bagged the fucking Bellsprout that killed Pikachu. Muck, I like you, Muck. You're kind of cool. Grimer, you're okay, though. I give Muck. I like the fact that it only has one big hand. Like, its other hand is just, like, comically tiny. It's just got, like, one giant hand, and the other one's, like, a stub. It's kind of charming. And also the fact that its mouth is kind of, like, separated a tiny bit like that. It's kind of funny. It's a little funny Pokemon. Sheldon and Cloyster? Musty, tell me another story. I got another story for you kids. I got another story. I'm just playing Heart Gold Soul Silver. Oh, I'm gonna fight these two trainers. This is crazy. Watching over my girlfriend makes my heart sore. My heart's feelings for my boyfriend as a whole are deeper than the ocean. Wow. What a lovely set of trainers right here. We've got, you are challenged by young couple Duff and Ida. They send out Onyx and Cloyster. What did they mean by that? The punchline is sex. Shelter, I'm gonna be honest, I don't care. I don't care. But that's funny though. That's a funny story. Oh yeah, oh, we're finally out the mid zone. Oh my lord, chat. We're finally out the mid zone, yes. Oh yes! Ghastly, my beloved Ghastly. I have to tell me a story, Musty. Do you know what I want to do? Before we get into any stories, I have to show you. Chat, look at this spray. They literally use the MS Paint spray tool. Ghastly, let me just zoom in on that a bit better. Look at that. That's so... They fixed it in Pokemon Yellow. You can see they immediately made it look like the Ghastly, you know. But it was literally just a spray. Oh, so funny. As a kid, I always loved Ghastly because it was a ghost type. So many moves. It was immune to so many moves, and it was so cool. I loved having it. It's the same reason I love Geodude, because like it was so resistant. I just loved like Ghastly because it would survive so many attacks. It was so cool. Even as a kid, I'm like, what the hell is this thing? And I think I ended up discovering that it's immune to a lot of normal type moves. In fact, mostly all of them. And then Ghastly's also responsible for one of my favorite scenes in the entire anime. This Ghastly that ends up haunting Ash and the crew. And then look what it does. It haunts them with its evolved forms, its older brothers. And then look. Venustoys. What do you guys know about Venustoys? Guys, you have to watch the Indigo League, okay? You have to watch it. It's such a stupid anime. I love it so much. God, again, as a kid, I loved it because of just how resistant it was. Its typing was amongst the only line in the game to be Ghost. In the anime, it was funny. In the games, it was funny. Obviously, he's joining the squad. Obviously, he's joining the squad. And then you got Haunter as well, which Haunter, if Ghastly's responsible for one of the funniest sprites, old Haunter, just look at this. Look at these two. This looked menacing. When I saw a trainer send out one of these bad boys, I'm like, what the hell? I used one all the time as a kid. I never got to evolve into a Gengar, but that means Haunter. You haunt my dreams daily, brother. You're one of the ninjas. Is this the first Evo line that's going to be all in the S tier? I think it might be, gamers. I think it might be, because Gengar, my beauty. Gengar, my beloved. I had one of my Heart Gold Soul Silver team, so I got you eventually. And boy, you were a great one. Sludge Bombs, Shadow Balls, Psychics. Yeah, Gengar's just what do you want me to say about Gengar, bro? Gengar's just like fucking Gengar's just dope. Gengar's like one of the like typing, he's really cool. Design wise, he looks really cool. Pokemon fan theory wise, there's the theory about him being like the shadow of Clefairy. Gengar is like just everyone's go. He's just one of the cool ones. Even that, like Gengar was I loved Haunter. When I saw he evolved into Gengar, I was like, I really want Gengar so bad. But I loved Haunter nonetheless. Anyway, this is the first line where I think all three of them deserve the S tier. The punchline is sex. Man, Onyx. Poor Onyx. I think Onyx doesn't get enough credit. I think Onyx is actually a fantastic boss Pokemon. I think as a boss for the first gym, I think he's really good. To train yourself, no. Design wise, yeah, he looks kind of cool too. That's like if you're gonna fight him as a first gym Pokemon, he's kind of cool. But yeah, when he's got like lower attack than a fucking weed plant, yeah, some of you guys might put him down here. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna leave him there. I'm just gonna leave him there and call it a day, honestly, because I think he gets too much stick. He's a rock hard boss. You can say that, but I'm gonna leave him in C. I don't particularly like him, I would say, but I think he gets too much hate. I think why is he still getting hate? And then you get Drowsy and Hypno. Now Drowsy's a bit of a weird one because I think you find him east of Vermilion City. I think it's the only route you can catch him. I think he's quite cool. He's a psychic type Pokemon. But I'm gonna make a new tier. I have to make a new tier just for the Drowsy line gamers, and this tier is Discord mods. Because gamers, I'll have you know that Drowsy is a Discord mods, and if you don't know what I mean, observe. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, there is a scene where there is in fact a Drowsy that Azurill is like, oh, hey, Mr. Drowsy, you're going to help me find a thing? He's like, I'm not here to help you find a thing. He's like, oh, it's a dead end. Excuse me, Mr. Drowsy, where's my lost item? Could you show me where you found it now? Sorry, kiddo, your lost item's not here, that's for sure. Huh? My big brother? Well, you're following us, right? He's coming soon, right? No, your big brother's not coming. I let you in a secret. This is all a trick. I deceived you. That's the iconic line. So, I don't know, kidnapping children? Definitely a Discord mod tier. Definitely a Discord mod tier for sure. What about Hypno, though? Is Hypno also going to join him? Yes, he is. He's also going to join him in the Discord mod tier, gamers. Because if you'd like to pay attention to Exhibit B, this guy's playing on a phone? Holy shit. This is funny to see. But you go into this house in Pokemon Fire Red, and this guy's like, where's my daughter? My daughter Lostel is just lost. So you end up exploring, and so on. And then you find her in the woods. You find her just walking in the woods. And it's like, what's going on? What's going on? A scary Pokemon appeared just a while ago. It kept scaring me. It made Lostel scare. I'm too scared to move. I want to go home. Here it comes again. Go away. It's scaring me. I want my dad. And then what Pokemon is it, gamers? Oh, did you actually rewind the emulator? But yeah, it was in fact a Hypno. So both of you guys can sit in the Discord mod tier and think about what you've done. As for Krabby and Kingler, though, this Pokemon started the trend of just having crabs for some reason. There's a lot of crabs in the Pokemon lore. There's definitely a lot of crabs. Krabby is just like, to be honest, Krabby's just kind of like, okay. Krabby's kind of okay. But Kingler, though? I kind of fuck with Kingler because Kingler had like the coolest scene in the anime. Ash brought one to like the Indigo League and ended up taking out an Executor in one hit. Also, I love this watermark, by the way. It's nice to know that I Am Pokemon Ranger owns the copyrights of the Indigo League. But then immediately after killing one Pokemon, he just evolves. I think he ends up like solo queuing this entire battle. He was This is Kingler's time to shine. He had a moment. I like Kingler for that. I like him. He was a goat. His one claw being bigger than the other, I always thought was weird as a kid. And even in the Gen 1 sprites, look, you see the mistake? They made a mistake, gamers. They made a mistake. In his red and blue sprite, both of his claws are the same height. But they fixed it here, and they fixed it here. They fixed it eventually. But they had both his claws the same size. That's bad. That's bad, Game Freak. Voltorb and Electrode, though. I don't think I left many notes. I might be an old man and I might have stories, but this is one I don't have stories about. This is one I wish I had more stories about, because the idea of a Pokeball Pokemon is just very, very weird to me, honestly. Like, what's the lore behind this? Like, I know, like, there's a Hisuian variant, so, like, this Pokemon has existed for time immemorial, but, like, did they exist in the wild and trainers use their model as this to base the Pokeball off of? Like, where did this happen? Like, what was going on? Why did they explode for no reason? I don't really think about Electrode. I guess there's the Electrode that power the power plant in Gen 2, the Rocket Hideout. I'm just reaching, guys. I'm just reaching, honestly. Well, let's go to Execute and Executor. In Pokemon Red and Green, they got it right. In Pokemon Yellow, they got it right. But in fucking Red and Blue, they were just like, let's have the middle egg just be giant for like no fucking reason. And it was just, this is the sprite I grew up with, so this is the one I knew the most. So when I played Pokemon Yellow, I was really confused. Why is this egg tiny now? Have I got Gary Oak in my chat? You're 56 to play Pokemon. Grow up, grandpa. Yeah, thanks, Gary. I appreciate that, homie. Appreciate that. As for Execute, though, I remember that your rival had one, and he evolves into an Executor, and his Executor ends up being like really, really mid. Tell me if you guys knew this. Be honest with me. There's a move called Barrage that's exclusive to Execute and Executor. You just throw balls at them. I have no idea what this move is, but for some reason they all learn it at level 1, and in Gen 8 they were just like, yeah, this move sucks. Let's just get rid of it. I guess it was like a beta version of maybe Bullet Seed or something. Okay, thank you. As for Executor, I love the Gen 1 sprites. They're so full of wacky tobacco chicanery. Guys, look at these sprites. Look at these sprites. These are nightmarish. In Yellow they fixed it by giving him proper proportions, but good lord, what a mess. As for Executor as a whole, it's like a coconut tree, which is kind of cool, I guess. I don't really think about it too much, I'm gonna be honest. Like, the rival has one. You're just okay. You're just okay, brother. You're really just chill. You're just chilling. You're just chilling in the seat here. I don't think about you at all. Another Pokemon I do think about, though. What Cubone, though? What do you think about Cubone? Do you guys know about like what Cubone was supposed to be? Someone leaked a bunch of like beta sprites for like Gen 1. You know the baby in Kangaskhan's pouch? This is gonna be what like it turned out to be. And then they evolved to a Marowak, and then it had a third Evo, and like there was a variation of Marowak that was supposed to be this, basically. So that was gonna be the whole line tied up in a nice bow, but I guess it just never worked out really, which is really unfortunate, honestly. I wish it had that, because as a whole I just don't think Cubone and Marowak are that interesting. This lore would have completed it, but other than that I just don't find it too interesting. There is obviously the bit in Pokemon Tower in the original where you end up, there's a ghost of Marowak ends up haunting Pokemon Tower, and you have to put it to rest by literally killing it. So I guess Marowak has a scene in that. It was actually quite a sad scene in the Pokemon Origins anime. But as a whole, Cubone and Marowak, I don't really think about you at all. I'm going to be honest. I don't really think about you much at all. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. I mean, if this is Bruce Lee and this is Jackie Chan, who the hell is top? Is it Carrot Top? Who the hell did they base Hitmon top of? Your prize for beating the Karate Dojo. Hitmonchan got like the fucking wrong end of the stick, because Hitmonchan's whole deal is supposed to punch, so it learns all the elemental punches, but its special stat is fucking dog shit, so it can't even use them. So like for like 3 gens, Hitmonchan was just not it. Hitmonlee was the clear winner. But design-wise, I like them both. I think I like them both equally. I like, for some reason, that Hitmonlee has no mouth. I don't know how he talks. I wish I knew. Oh my god. Oh my... Jesus Christ. I forgot about... Oh, this is like boomer lore. So this is Hitmonchan, right? You can see, obviously, it's like got his fists up to punch it, right? But then you see this image and it's ruined forever. The bottom half looks like Doduo taking a crap, and the top half looks like a Togekiss watching Doduo take a crap. So if you recolor it, it just looks like that. Yeah, so every time I see Hitmonchan's red and green sprite, I just think that it's a Doduo taking a shit. So, you know, to be fair, because of that, Hitmonchan, you're one of the ninjas, obviously. You obviously got to the S tier, you know? For a bit of pooping lore. Okay, you're an A. Both of these guys are going to go in there. I think they're really fun. They're really fun fighting types. I've raised them both in many a playthrough. I obviously think Hitmonlee is the more fun because it gets like good fighting stab. But I think they're both fun. They're both fun Pokemon. Both fun fighting types. As for Lickitung though, can I just leave it here and call it a day, please? Like my fiance is going to get so pissed at me for saying that, because she loves Lickitung. She thinks like this is a cute goober of a Pokemon. He just looks stupid, man. Musty, tell us another story, Grandpa Musty. Do you remember? There's only one in the game and you have to trade for it. You trade it for a Golduck, by the way, or you trade it for a Slowbro. 2 Pokemon that I would say are better than Lickitung. Do you know what its nickname is, gamers? Do you know what the nickname is? Take a guess, gamers. You're never gonna guess. The nickname is Mark with a C. M-A-R-C. So if you wanted a Lickitung in red and blue, you had to deal with one that you had to trade a pretty good Pokemon for, called Mark, which I didn't know that was an actual. I thought the game mistyped, but no, that's actually a spelling for Mark. In which case, I'm like, what? Why?
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark.
Coughing, coughing. One of my favorite sprite errors in all of Gen 1. Oh, I love coughing sprite error. Look at this, games. Look at this. So in the original Japanese release, looks fine. In Pokemon Yellow, it looks fine. In Pokemon Red and Blue, they got the skull and crossbones the wrong way around. I don't know how they did this, Game Freak. How did you do this? This sprite already looks amazing. It looks fantastic. And for some reason, you were like, let's just flip him. For the longest time, I thought this was the right way. I was gaslit by Pokemon. I really was. I've raised a couple. It's nice that it gets Sludge, which is like the strongest poison type move in the game. Even though poison types as a whole are not really too interesting in that gen. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's, what's it? His name in the game files. I think Coughing's name in the game files is literally NY, as in short for New York. And Wheezing's is LA, as in short for Los Angeles. Because they're polluted cities. Do you get the joke? Can't say the Japanese don't have a sense of humor there. Coughing and Wheezing, they're kind of chill. I kind of like them. I like that it explodes. I like the Galarian variants a bit more. But they're chill. They're chill. I think they're kind of nice. I kind of like them. Wheezing, use smoke screen. Wheezing. Rhyhorn and Rhydon. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really that big on Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn is just kind of okay. You get him in the Safari Zone. He doesn't get access to any ground or rock stab, which is really lame. And also he doesn't have a funny name, unlike his older brother, so I'll put you here. Rhydon, on the other hand, Rhydon, this obvious joke, you know, when you're rizzing up that like girl that has like the Pikachu plush, come sit on my lap press. You can ride on me all night. But Rhydon's a funny fella. One thing I actually love about Rhydon, how about we just let this fellow with this shitty moveset learn Surf? Like, it barely did any damage because its special was fucking useless. But I taught it Surf just on principle anyway. Because it's just really funny that this little goofy goober can learn Surf. And not to mention all the gym statues across time and memoriam are based off Rhydon. I like Rhydon a lot. Rhydon's cool. He's a cool fellow. I'll put him in A. I love him. Chansey though? Chansey. Oh, Lord, Chansey. Oh, Lord, in heaven above. Chansey. Catching one in Red and Blue was actually pretty fun because, let me show you. Oh my god, catching one in Red and Blue was really fun. So you could get one in Cerulean Cave. Now, Cerulean Cave is probably one of my favorite dungeons in the entire series. The Pokemon you could find in this cave were just absurdly high level, and I love that. I don't know why Pokemon games in modern day just don't like have like absurdly high level Pokemon now. By the time you're on the bottom floor, like the 60s, Raichu, you can find level 60 Raichu. You can find like level 64 Parasect and level 64 Chansey as well. They tempered the levels a lot in Pokemon Yellow, which is really lame. But in Pokemon Red and Blue, you could get some really high level late game mons, which I think was the perfect setup into finding Mewtwo at level 70 all the way at the end of the cave. So I really like this dungeon because of that. And catching Chansey in this cave was always a lot of fun. I like Chansey. Chansey's cool. Chansey's a lot cool. What about the little Vine fella? Vine guy. Okay. Vine guy. Vine guy's just boring. Like, what do you guys want me to say about Tangela? In a game full of poison types, being a monograss was just like a death wish. And on top of this, guys, look, listen, gamers, fuck my life. Remember, I raised like almost every Pokemon in this gen as a kid, right? And even as an adult too. Red and Blue gamers. So in Yellow, they were like, we should probably give it more grass type moves. In Yellow, it only had Absorb. It learned the powders, sure, but then like Bellsprout learned the powders, you know, Oddish learned the powders, Venusaur learned the powders, Butterfree learned the powders. And then they got Slam. I'm gonna go on record and say is the worst move in the entire game, most attacking move, 80 power for 75 accuracy. And for some reason, this move survived Brexit. Remember in Gen 8, they cut a bunch of moves because they were useless and they were bad, and we don't want these moves in the game anymore. Slam survives. It's like Focus Blast, but without any of the fun. It's got good special. I guess in Gen 1 it had 100 special, which is pretty cool. So could it do anything off that? What am I supposed to do here, guys? So off of a 100 special, that's a special stat that some Pokemon would cry for. I can use Mega Drain and Solar Beam. Where are the Tangler defenders now, eh? Where are you guys? I'm not hearing you guys anymore, am I? That's what I thought, bruv. And then on top of that, right? Erica, 4th gym in Kanto, right? Let's have a look at our Pokemon, right? Let's have a look at them. So, by this time in the game, you're supposed to have Pokemon in your late 20s, right? Early 30s even, okay? So let's have a look at Red, Blue, and Yellow team. Level 29 Victory Bell, strong. Level 29 Valpluma's an ace, that's good. Level 24 Tangela, Constrict and Bind. Hey, you tell me. You tell me, Tangela mains. This was the first time you see a Tangela in the entire series. And it had Constrict and Bind. Constrict, by the way, 10 power. And he has a Razor Leaf, instant crit. Sleep Powder, devastating. Wrap, a trapping move. Petal Dance, powerful stab grass-like move. Sleep Powder, devastating. Mega Drain, Lifesteal. Poison Powder, tick damage over time. And this we have. Oh, I think he got fixed in yellow, but there was only so much you could do. So, Tangela, my brother, you look a little silly, so I'll leave you in there. But good lord. Little Viney, little Viney, little Viney. Is that what you're gonna call him, yeah? Little Viney? Get out of here, nerds. Kangaskhan, though? Oh, for fuck's sake, Kangaskhan. Oh, catching one of these fuckers in Safari Zone was always a nightmare. Oh, I hated going after Kangaskhan. I think it's quite notable in that Giovanni for some reason. But I think he had this one as his ace. He did, yeah, like Kangaskhan now has like Comet Punch, Rage Bite. I think did he get rid of it? Oh, he has it in the second battle. Then obviously when he becomes a ground type gym leader, he doesn't have it anymore. And also one fun thing I didn't know about Kangaskhan until like relatively recently was that in Gen 1, it actually learns Dizzy Punch. I always thought Spinder was the first Pokemon to ever get a Dizzy Punch. But no, it was actually Kangaskhan. As a whole, Kangaskhan, though, you can stay here. You got a funny name, though. You're named after Genghis Khan. But I don't really think about you too much, if I'm being honest, Kangaskhan. Horsey and Seadra, though. Oh, Seadra. It looks so cool and edgy. Look at this. In, like, yellow, they kind of evened out. But look at this. Look how pointy it was. It was so pointy and sharp. 5-year-old boys will look at this and be like, oh, it's so pointy and cool. And for some reason, it also has the ability Poison Point in Gen 3. Again, Poison Point, which was an interesting bit of lore. I guess the points are quite venomous. Seadra, I always thought looked kind of cool, at least. I think at least he had like a coolish design. He was always missing a bit of a extra source, and that's what Kingdra did to fix him. But I always liked this line. I think this line was kind of cool. They are my favorite members of the Horse Council. I'll put Horsey in B. I'll put Seadra in A. I'll put Seadra in A, definitely. And then we get into like Goldeen. Oh lord. Do I even have any notes on Goldeen? I mean, I guess it's cool that it learned Waterfall before it was a HM. I'm okay, thank you. In a game where you went kind of nonsensical with the designs, it's just a fish, bro. Like I'm okay. Fish. No notes because you thought it existed, probably. I'm okay, thank you. But Staryu and Starmie though. Staryu and Starmie are pretty funny. Ash, obviously Misty has one in the anime. She has one in her battle in the Gen 2, which I think makes for a pretty fun battle as well. Her Starmie was quite tough, but beatable as well. I think it was a fun Pokemon to fight against in Misty's gym. And I think it gains the Psychic type as well, which is also really cool. You can teach it Psychic, you can teach it Thunderbolt, you can teach it Ice Beam. It's also a very good, versatile Pokemon as well. Design-wise, I always thought it was kind of cool. It might just be a star, but I always liked how mysterious it was. Like, in most games, you can only catch it at night as well. So, I quite like Staryu and Starmie. I think they're quite simple in their designs. I'll put Staryu here and I'll put Starmie up here. I like Starmie. He looks kind of cool. He's just a big old starfish. Mr. Mime. Ash Ketchum's adoptive dad. I was going to say, like, in the anime, Mr. Mime is, like, really cool. I don't know if you've seen him in the Pokemon Journeys anime.
But can it even battle?
Mr. Mime as a whole, I always thought it was good. I think mainly because of the anime is definitely carrying Mr. Mime, I'm going to be honest. I think in Gen 1, he's another Pokemon you're going to get one of. And I think when you what's his nickname? Oh, his nickname is Marcel. The only Mr. Mime you can get is a fucking Mr. Mime called Marcel. So Marcel the Mr. Mime. But like even then, he gets access to Substitute. He's one of the few Pokemon that learns Substitute naturally, which in Gen 1 is just full of chicanery. And I always liked using that as well. So Marcel the Mr. Mime. You can hang out in A. I quite like Mr. Mime. He's a silly fella. Scyther. Can I just do this, gamers? Can I just like do this? Can I just do that? Can I just do that and call it a day, please? Boys will literally look at a mantis with fucking claw hands and be like, yes! I love this thing! The amount of time, every single time chat I played Gen 1 or 2, I made sure I caught one of these. Even if I never used it, he just looks so... praying mantis with just fucking claws. Because if we're talking moveset wise, he's really bland. If we're talking typing wise, he's definitely not doing himself any favors. But we're talking just like on a purely design front, I fucking love Cypher. Cypher's like one of the coolest designs ever made. And it was just the praying mantis with giant claw arms. Jinx though, Jinx is like the opposite of Scyther. Like again, in every time I see a Scyther, I'm like, yes, I want Scyther. I want Scyther every time. But I look at Jinx and I'm just like, I'm okay. Also, you did blackface once as well, and we don't like racism in this house. But other than that, I think in Gen 1, you only get one Jinx, and her name is Lola. So it's Lola the Jinx. And while Lola's a cute name, it's not enough to do anything for me, if you're asking me. You can hold bench in the F tier, if I'm being honest. But now we're getting back into the cool zone. Electabuzz. I like Electabuzz. Just look at that design. Again, it's another boys will literally look at this and be like, oh my god, I love this. It's a fucking like tiger looking Pokemon with like fucking thunderbolts all over it. And it's got like antennas. And it's like, yeah. It's one of the few Pokemon that naturally learn Thunder Punch as well, which is a worse Thunderbolt, but at least it learns something, honestly. So I quite like Electabuzz. I'm a big fan of its design. Anime Cry? Should we look up his Anime Cry? I actually don't remember what his Anime Cry was. What the fuck was that? Oh my god! I did not even know. How did I not remember this? Oh my lord! I was gonna put him in A. I'm not even joking. I was gonna put him like a high A. But just for that, you know what? You're one of the homies. You're one of the homies now. You're one of the homies. You can stay up there, brother. You can stay up there. As long as every time I send you out, you can go. I would take you. I would take you. Do you know who I won't take though? Fucking Magmar. Oh! You're so boring. I feel sorry for the entire Magmar line, because, like, spoiler alert, I just don't like the whole Magmar line, if I'm being honest. I would say the only cool thing I actually think about Magmar, firstly, the anime fight between Blaine's Magmar and Ash's Charizard, actually an iconic fight, that was pretty cool. I would say the only other thing I can say about Magmar is that there's a fan-made ROM hack of the Gen 1 games called the Kanto expansion pack. The Kanto expansion pack ended up letting you access the volcano on Cinnabar Island as an extra dungeon in the game, right? There's like lava, you know, it's essentially they recolored the water tile to be red and called it lava, right? But then the guy's like, definitely can't surf on this lava, but you might be able to fish something up. And I'm like, oh, I thought he was joking. But no, you can literally take a super rod, fish in the lava, and you can catch a Magmar that way. That's how you catch Magmar in that game. And I thought that was a really charming way of being able to get Magmar. And obviously its Japanese name is Booba. Thank you. I was going to mention that. Yeah, it's Booba. Funny sex haha aside. I'm okay, thank you. I'm alright. Pinsir is like another case of boys will look at this and be like, yes! Giant beetle! Yeah! I love giant beetles. And also one thing I really love about old Gen 1 Pokemon is just like how jagged it's the eye shape that I really love. They have this like jagged triangular eye shape. If you go through all the Gen 1 Pokemon, you're gonna notice a lot of Pokemon that have this like sort of eye shape. It looks so angry and mean and I love it. One thing I find really cute, I don't know if you guys are gonna find it as cute as me. As you can see, if you look at any of its other 2D sprites, it looks like Pinsir, right? It looks like Pinsir, no drama. Even in Gen 2, it looks like Pinsir. But in Gen 1, they gave him beady eyes. Guys, they gave him beady eyes. It's so adorable. I love it. I want beady-eyed Pinsir. He looks so angry. I don't think it's as iconic as Scyther or Electabuzz for me, but he's definitely an A-tier Pokemon. Holy shit, I love Pinsir. He's so cool. He's such a cool-looking Pokemon. Again, typing-wise, he's not helping himself. Moveset-wise, he's definitely not helping himself. It feels like he could have been a bug fighting type along with Heracross. I put beady-eyed Pinsir up here. But regular-eyed Pinsir, you can hold A. You can definitely hold A, honestly. Tauros. Oh my god, the self-proclaimed king of Gen 1. Because there were like two things about Tauros I didn't know as a kid, but as an adult I noticed and I'm like, what the hell? One, there is actually a banned episode of the Pokemon anime where Ash goes to the Safari Zone. It's banned because, do you know what, fair? Did you get that gun? Hey, it's Pokemon. Everyone has guns in Pokemon. That's just how it works. And then the other thing I didn't know about it is that this Pokemon is, in fact, one of the staples of the Generation 1 competitive metagame. It's one of the most iconic Pokemon in RBY overuse, and its presence has been shaping the tier for as long as it's existed. This little fella? This guy? Oh, hang on. There's another detour I can quickly go on. In the original Gen 1 games, there was actually a battle you were supposed to have with Professor Oak. He was supposed to be the final boss, but instead your rival took that spot. I think in unused teams. Yeah, look, see, here it is. Professor Oak, who cannot normally be battled. I think he has a Tauros, doesn't he? Oh, he does. See, so even what would be the final boss in the game would have a Tauros. His moveset leaves a lot to be desired, obviously. But he also has an executive. He has like a beta version of like Blue's team, basically. So it's pretty cool, honestly. All of that has made me like kind of like Tauros a little bit more. So I'll put him up here. I'm up here. He's chill. Tauros is chill. Magikarp and Gyarados. If you ask my friend Infamous, he will say this Pokemon is S tier. If you're asking me, I would also agree in that it's S tier. So welcome in Gyarados and Magikarp. You're in the Champions Club. I just think Magikarp is like a really, really funny Pokemon. A guy just sells it to you for 500 for no reason, and you think, man, this Pokemon is useless, and it evolves into one of the strongest Pokemon that ever existed in Pokemon history for like no reason. But the lore behind Magikarp is that it's based on this Chinese myth where like the carp will like swim upriver and like become a massive dragon or something, right? And they reference this in Pokemon Legends Arceus. At the bottom of a waterfall, there's a bunch of Magikarp, and if you fly up to the top of the waterfall, climb to the top, there's a bunch of Gyarados up there. I just think that's really cool. I love it when Pokemon like uses its lore in the games proper, and it does that here, and I really love that about it. And again, it's just such a strong Pokemon for like no reason. It should have been a dragon type. It definitely should have been a dragon type. And also, I would be remiss if I never mentioned the resort area Magikarp. So there's an area in Gen 4 called the resort area. There's a pond off to the right where you can, the left where you can fish. And as you can see, you can fish up to Magikarp from level 1 to 100. I think the highest level I ever got as a kid was level 92. That was the highest level Magikarp I managed to get. I love the fact that they included like a little pond that just has 1 to 100 Magikarps in there. And I thought that was just really cool. It's one of my favorite things about this game. So yeah, as a result, Magikarp definitely gets into there. It's funny. It's a funny little goober. Lapras. When you beat Team Rocket at Silphco, you end up getting a Lapras as a prize. Lapras better be high. Lapras is S. Lapras is Musty. It's a Discord mod, guys. You supported a Discord mod. There's a pedophile Lapras in an episode of Pokemon Pinball Deluxe. You know where it's gonna go. Lapras is like one of the coolest Pokemon ever. No, it's based off the Loch Ness Monster, probably one of the coolest myths in the real world. Water and ice typing goes really hard. If you don't have a Surfer at that point, you've got one now. Once you get into the Elite Four chamber, Lorelei is just like chilling. Look at her. She's just chilling. She's just fucking chilling on her Lapras. Lorelei, honestly, she went up like 10 tiers just for that alone, honestly. I still like there was one person who was breeding Lapras and releasing them based on the deck saying they were endangered, which caused the later game to change it to say they were thriving. Really? That's really funny. That is actually really funny. But Lapras is a cool Pokemon. You can't hate Lapras. I think if you hate Lapras, they're setting up with you, brother. They're setting up with you. We can up the joint. Ditto. Gamers! Oh, my ninja. My fella, Ditto. I think Ditto, come on, Ditto has to go in there. He just copies other Pokemon. That's such a funny gimmick. Come on. Not only has he made breeding so easy in the games, he's made it irreparably easy. But his gimmick is just really fun. He just copies your Pokemon. He just copies your Mon. And that's just, and then this is Gen, if we go to Gen 1 sprites as well. So look at the smugness. Look at the smugness on his face. And obviously the theory as well. I was just about to mention that, Kalamika. The theory that Dittos are just failed clones of Mew is the theory that goes around, mainly because just like Mew, it can also learn Transform. It has all its base stats the same, just like Mew. It's pink, just like Mew. And it's also got a funny little smile, just like Mew. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Ditto. Eevee? Oh my god. Gamers! Man, it seems like everyone's just going into the S tier now. What the hell is happening? What is happening now? I think Eevee belongs in the S tier just for one reason and one reason alone, right? I was one of those people who bought Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I bought Let's Go Eevee specifically. And I'm like, and then I realized, wait, this is just Gen 1 but babified. I hate this game now. But then the more I played it, I just fell in love with that stupid little Eevee. And I put him in like a little, and then you could dress him up in a little Team Rocket outfit. And I was like, you little cute patootie, you. I love Eevee. I love Eevee now. That Eevee and Let's Go Eevee single-handedly raised my Eevee stocks like 10 million billion. It really did. But not all Eeveelutions are created equal, gamers. All three of these, I'm going to warn you right now, chat. I'm going to warn you right now. All three of these Eevees go into 3 separate slots. Jolteon, let's start with Jolteon. Hello, base department? There you go. Hello? Base department? As a kid, if anything was just spiky, it just looks really cool to me. In all of his Gen 1 sprites, regardless of which game you played, you were in for a spiky little dogger. I used him in my, Black White 2 playthrough as well, because you get Eevee. You can get Eevee in the Castelia Gardens in Black 2, White 2, and ended up catching one, evolving it into a Jolteon, because Jolteon was my favorite. I remember taking him on in the double battles on the Pokemon World Tournament. He'd always set up a light screen and just go for straight up thunders after I set up a rain dance. It was great. I loved him a lot. Vaporeon, guys, did you know when it comes to Sir Musty's opinion on a Vaporeon, I think he's just kind of good. I like him. Even though his defenses are quite bad, he can always make up for it by using acid armor, which is one of his weird moves that not a lot of Pokemon get access to. Do you know what I'm not a fan of, though? Do you know how I've been talking about Gen 1 sprites a lot? Now, if you look at this sprite, this looks like, look at the back sprite, gamers. Look at that hideous. Can you tell that was Vaporeon based on that back sprite? Based on this back sprite, you could tell it was Vaporeon. What are you even looking at here? So, if anything, it gains a few points for that because of how iconically terrible the back sprite is. It looks like a Golduck stepped on a Lego. Yeah, honestly. And even the front sprite in red and green. What is that, bro? Like, this sprite ain't so bad. This one is kind of as well. The only one that's even good is the red and blue front sprite. That's the only good one. And then they fixed it one gen later, and they fixed it. And then it's the Vaporeon we know and love. And then Flareon. Oh, Flareon. Oh, no. Flareon. I feel kind of bad for Flareon. I really do. It's not his fault. He's a physical fire type that's slow and has high special defense. He was just doomed. Put in F for the slander. Do I? I'll leave you there. He's a little cutie, sure, but like, look. Vaporeon's a cutie, has good stats. He's a cool guy, has good stats. Flareon looks nice, but good lord, it's just every evolution has 2 cracked stats. For him, one, it's special defense and attack. None of those really particularly go off his attack. But in Gen 1, it wasn't so bad because he had a high special. Again, what are we using that really goes off his attack? Smog? Bite? Oh, no. And then in Gen 3, let's keep going with Gen 3. You get Bite again, Smog again at level 42 for some reason. And then Physical Special Split. Yes! Now you can learn physical fire type moves like just Fire Fang. And no fire, no Flare Blitz. No Flare Blitz. Still no Flare Blitz. Crazy. Still no Flare Blitz. Are we gonna get Flare Blitz, guys? We're gonna get Flare Blitz. Oh, Gen 6 finally! Way! He goes Flare Blitz at level 45. He wasn't given the best of times. He was given the worst of times, Che. He was given the worst of times. Even a Gen 9. We're on Gen 9 now, and that's the best you can do. Last resort. Bro, if you're using Flareon, you're down to your last resort. That's true. Fucking hell, mate. So yeah, I'm not big on Flareon. He was never fun to use in a battle, and he's not fun to look at in particular compared to the rest of them. Porygon? Oh, Porygon. Poor Porygon. That one episode of Pokemon ruined him. I don't think he's been in an anime episode since. For those of you guys who don't know, there was an episode of the anime which featured Porygon, and in that episode there was a scene that featured a lot of flashing lights, which unfortunately caused a lot of Japanese children to have seizures, and as a result the episode was pulled and not aired in the US or anywhere else, and as a result Porygon is never featured in another episode ever again, even though it was Pikachu who did it to the Simpsons clip. Is that what the Simpsons clip is referencing? Oh my god, I never actually put that together. I never knew that I was referencing the Porygon thing. I guess it was, because that happened around a similar-ish time. That's pretty funny. Gen 4 saved this Pokemon. And it's not because of Porygon Z. It's because Gen 4 was the first time where the game just let you have a Porygon. In Gen 1, you had to collect a bunch of coins in the game corner. In Gen 2, I think you also had to do the same. In Gen 3, I think you also had to do the same. Gen 4 was where they were finally like, hey, let's just can we just let someone have this Pokemon? I don't think anyone's used a Porygon. So now that you finally are able to use a Porygon in Gen 4 in Pokemon Platinum, you realize that it's kind of a funny Pokemon in the sense that it gets access to a move called Conversion, which converts it into just another type of the type of moves you have. And then it has Conversion 2, which is a move that changes to a type that resists the type of move that was just used against you. So it has a couple of weird moves that can do some gimmicky chicanery, which is quite fun to use. And it also has a lot of access to special moves, like it can use like psychic moves, it can use like Thunderbolts, it can use Ice Beam, it can use a lot of fun moves. So Porygon as a whole is actually a decently fun Pokemon to use when you can use it. He's never been a easy Pokemon to get, but I kind of like him. I always liked him for Tri-Attack, and I think it's Technician is an ability. Oh yeah, it does get Technician, which is quite nice. And Tri-Attack in Gen 2 onwards has that thing where it can paralyze, burn, or freeze, which is quite fun as well. It's one of the few Pokemon that gets access to that. So it's got a couple of things on its belt, which I quite like. Like, using it is quite gimmicky and fun. But, like, when you get to use it, you know? Fucking hell. Omanyte and Omastar. Lord Helix gamers. Lord Helix. I was always a Helix guy. I was never a Dome guy. I don't really have much experience with Omanyte. Because you get him so late in the game, I never trained a lot of Omanyte and Omastars. But there's one reason why Omastar is, like, the best Pokemon in the entire game. Look at Omastar's sprites. Just look at him. Just look at him. He's like, yeah. He's just so happy to be here. His joy is absolutely infectious. So at first he's like standing on business. He's like, yeah, I'm a tough Pokemon. You can't stop me. But then eventually he finally realizes, you know what? I should reach my calling and become the dancer I was always meant to be. I don't have too much experience with him using him. As I said, that you get him late game, so you can't really use him too much. But I was always a fan of its sprites. So I like Omanyte. I kind of like Omastar as well, just for that. It's got a unique type combination too. It gets Swift Swim in the later games if you want some speed. But just for those sprites alone, I'm putting him in A. I think you can use it. He's a funny fella. Now Kabutops again. It was a simple case of just put claws on something and little boys are gonna like it. Source. I was a little boy at one point and I loved Kabutops. If you saw this. If you saw one of these, for some reason they showed the top of its shell here. It was a really weird sprite. But if you showed this to like any kids, oh my god, that's gonna. My older brother could have told me as a kid that thing is gonna crawl into your ear at night, and I probably wouldn't sleep. I definitely wouldn't have slept. So I think he looks really menacing and cool, doesn't he? He really does. And I think just for that alone, I like him. I like him a bit. Now, Kabutops, though, I think he's going to join Omastar. I think this gen they did pretty good with the fossils. In some gens they did lack with the fossils, but in this gen they were cooking. And then we get into the final fossil Pokemon. They had a bonus fossil Pokemon, Aerodactyl. Can I make an extra tier just for Aerodactyl? He's illegal, gamers. He's an illegal Pokemon, and I will show you the exhibit right now. Lance Vance Dance. Lance with the cape. So, gamers, if we go on to Lance's Pokemon, you will see in Gold, Silver, Crystal, he has an Aerodactyl. An Aerodactyl that has Rock Slide and Ancient Power. If we go up to Aerodactyl, we're like, well, Rock Slide. It makes sense that he learns Rock Slide. Let's go to Gen 1. Can he learn Rock Slide in Gen... Oh no. Where's Rock Slide? Oh, but Musty, that was Gen 2. That was the Gen 2 battle, Musty. Surely he learns it in Gen 2. Where's Rock Slide? Do you see Rock Slide here anywhere? I see Ancient Power, but I do not see Rock Slide. I have now issued a call to the police, and they will be arresting Aerodactyl, and I will not be tearing with illegals. Snorlax! Oh my god, Snorlax. Snorlax is a funny fella. I've got one exhibit that's going to make you love Snorlax, okay? I've got one thing in particular. So you get in 96, where he's lying down, and then he's on his side, and then he sits up, but then like, he can't get, and then he's like, and he's struggling in 2002, and he gives up in 2004, and then in 2006, he's like thinking, but then he does it so effortlessly. He's finally sat up after all these years, and he's used to it. He's finally sitting up, and then in 2010, he gets the urge to stand, and in 2014, he stands on 2 toes for the first time in his life. It took him years upon years upon years, but he finally stands. He stands on business, and I'm so proud of him for that. That is the biggest character development in Pokemon history. I think also there's two that block you in the Gen 1 games. I always ended up catching one, sometimes training it. It got access to Amnesia, which is an insanely broken move in Gen 1 because it raises your special attack and your special defense. And Snorlax was just a really fun Pokemon to fight. It really was. It was fun Pokemon to have, fun Pokemon to fight. And then G-Max one has him lying down again. That's funny. It all comes around full circle, eh? It all comes around full circle. Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. Oh man, gamers, my birds. My glorious, glorious birds. Now, before I ended up getting good as a kid, one thing that I would do when I first beat Pokemon Red and Blue, I had my Pidgeot, I had my Venusaur, and I had my Haunter. But I also had Articuno and a Zapdos because I used them two to basically cheese through the entire game because I sucked at Pokemon as a kid. So when you're a kid, you don't quite understand how Pokemon works. So you end up cheesing it with legendaries. But so I have a lot of experience with these two in particular. I think in Articuno, you catch him in the Seafoam Islands. In Zapdos, you get him in the power plant. And Moltres is a bit of a traveling Andy. You catch him in all sorts of places. I think in the original game, you catch him in Victory Road. In the remakes, you catch him in Mount Ember on 3 Island. And in Heart Gold Soul Silver, you catch him in Mount Silver Cave. He likes to change his location. I rate him for that. Whereas the other two are very, very steadfast in their location. When it comes to Articuno, Musty, tell me a story. Tell me a story, Musty. So if we go to Gen 4, when I used to do a lot of battling in the playground as a kid, tell me what you see when it comes to this moveset, gamers. Do you see it? I'll give you a second. I'll give you a second to figure it out. Do you see what I saw as a kid? And do you see what I would always do in the playground whenever somebody would challenge me to a battle? It was Mind Reader, which makes it so that your next move is guaranteed to land. And then I would use Sheer Cold, which is a move that instantly kills you. Articuno is one of the few Pokemon that gets access to those two moves. And it was absolutely devastating to everyone. And even Ice types would also die in one hit to Sheer Cold, which I thought was really weird. Oh, they changed it now. From Generation 7 onwards, Ice types are now immune to Sheer Cold. Why did it take them like 4 gens to figure that out? That's so strange. The Galarian variants are so much better. It makes these games seem mid. Really? I like the Galarian variants too, but I like these two. Nostalgia. Nostalgia, Randy. Articuno, you're one of the homies. Zapdos, you're one of the homies. Moltres. Moltres? You're not one of the homies. You just look kind of silly. You just look like a fucking chicken on fire, and I can never unsee that. I do like you though, so I'll leave you here. But I'm not as big on Moltres as I am on these two, if you couldn't tell. I was never that big on Moltres, if I'm being honest. What about these three though? What about these three? Well, I mean, you know, you already knew what was going to happen. Okay, you already knew what was going to happen. Dragonite is well and by far not by far I would say, but by a noticeable margin, my favorite Pokemon in the entirety of Gen 1. And I think it was just due to the fact that of its, I think due to its like absolute mystique. So firstly, it's the only dragon type Pokemon in the entire Gen. So which also lends itself to this like, what the fuck? It's the only one of its own type, right? So they already had that going for it. It had so many resistances to that. And also it serves as such a cool final boss Pokemon, because Lance has one as the end of the Elite Four. It serves as a really cool final boss Pokemon because it's resistant to all 3 of the starter types. It's resistant to grass, fire, and water, which again makes your starter going up against Dragonite. It always feels like a bit of a mismatch. It always feels like you gotta like figure out right on the fly there what the right type matchup is going to be. And I really like that about Dragonite. So fighting a Dragonite in the games was always pretty dope, especially Lance's one in Pokemon Yellow. In Pokemon Red and Blue, I'm not gonna lie, Lance's one was actually really, really lame, as you're gonna see here. It didn't really have a good moveset. But in Yellow, they decided, hey, listen, let's give it some of the strongest moves in the entire game. So if you were Kid Me playing Pokemon in Yellow, this thing had a move that was super effective for nearly every one of your Pokemon. And then Hyper Beam as well, which remember in Gen 1, if you killed something with Hyper Beam, you did not have to recharge. So Hyper Beam as a kill move was utterly insanity. And on top of the fact that it has that Nidoking thing of also just being extremely versatile. In Gen 1, just look how many, it can learn so many moves. It doesn't really get a lot of moves in its base learn set, but water moves, you got Toxic, you got Double Edge, you've got the only dragon type move in the game, and it's a fixed damage move. You got Thunder, you got Fire, you got no Ice, obviously. You got Servant Strength if you want some HM usage, Paralysis hacks as well. It got a nice range of moves. It didn't get Fly, oddly enough. You could not teach it Fly in Gen 1, which was a missed opportunity. In Gen 2, I think it can learn it. It was very weird that it could not be your flyer. And then on top of that, one thing that I actually liked about Dratini, which, shocker guys, shocker. My ninjas. But one thing I liked about Dratini as well is that, again, it added to the intrigue as a kid. Like, I've told you guys so many times, one of my favorite aspects of Pokemon is the intrigue. It's going into a grassy patch and not knowing what you're going to find. So when a game doesn't give you all the information you need, that's when, like, my intrigue as a kid was always peaks. Like, Lance had a Dragonair. He had a Dragonite. Now, in Red and Blue, you could not catch Dragonair, and you could not catch Dragonite. So, and then no trainer in the game ever had a Dratini. So you were, like, left wondering, there's got to be a baby form, isn't there? There's got to be another Pokemon, but I don't know where to get it. And then when as a kid, I figured out Dratini existed. I'm like, where do you catch this thing? And the only spot you could get it, I remember a kid telling me in school, hey, like, there's like in Safari Zone, there's like a rare chance you can get one. I remember finding one for the first time, and like, that was like one of those core memories I'm never going to forget. Finding a Dratini in Safari Zone and catching it. And remember, the Safari Zone, you can't weaken it and catch it. You just have to throw balls and hope for the best. So catching one was always such a fun experience as well. Lance's one in the Pokemon Generation series always looked kind of cool as well. Look at it. This ain't your derpy Dragonite. This is like a motherfucking Dragonite, you know? But yeah, there's so many instances in media of Dragonite just being a cool ass fella, and I really like him for that. And not to mention the games, he got the hidden ability multi-scale as well. If he's on full health, damage is half, so you couldn't just one-shot him with an ice type attack anymore, which is honestly a very good ability for him to have, being 4 times weak to ice as well. And of course, if you're going by Gen 9 standards, the infamous Terra Normal into extreme speed has probably ruined many of people's games for eternity. Didn't he also have a 3 in his final battle? He did. He certainly did, didn't he? Lance is a cheater. Okay, to be fair, if I'm being equal, I should put it in the illegal tier because it's also illegal. But do you know what? I've bailed him out. I've pardoned him from illegal service. So Dragonite, you're my god, okay? You're my god. The final 2 Pokemon, Mewtwo and Mew. Mew, guys, let's be real here. Come on, Mew. My ninja. Mew is just a really cool Pokemon. I don't know how you guys know, but like Mew was like a last minute addition into the Gen 1 Pokedex. I think it was literally added 2 weeks before fucking Gen 1 even came out to the stores. So it was a very last minute addition. It could have been the glitchiest, buggiest Pokemon to ever exist, and it could have crashed the whole game's programming. But it was pretty dope. Thanks, TJ. I'll check out in a second, yeah. But it was one of the coolest Pokemon because it was like it's added at the last minute. And then the rumors with this Pokemon as well. Honestly, I think if someone said in chat Mew is mid, I think you had to be there. I think Mew is like a product of you just had to be there, bro. Because like the rumors around Mew that went around the playground. I don't know how many of you guys had like playground myths when you were a kid, but Mew was like the centerpiece behind every single fucking myth. You had Mew under the truck. You had Mew under this. You had, if you kill Mewtwo in Cerulean Cave and then wait 24 hours, Mew actually spawns in Cerulean Cave. You had so many rumors around this pink little blob. It would go down in infamy. Obviously, the truck one is the most famous of all, but in the playground, so many rumors were about this Pokemon because there was absolutely zero way to access it in the game. It was one of the first event Pokemon ever made in the Japanese, in Japan only, because Japan was always first choice when it came to events in the old games. That's one thing I don't miss. Event Pokemon of old always got... Event Pokemon in the older gens were always in Japan like by a country mile before we ever got it, and it was always so lame. But I think they only ever released it in Japan, Mew, and luckily there's a glitch that enables all of us to enjoy it. A very easy to do Mew glitch actually, so we get to all enjoy it. So if you were playing Gen 1 now, you can actually do the glitch and you can play it, you can do it yourself. And the Mew's just a really fun Pokemon to use. It's like a Ditto but like super form because you can learn transform just like a Ditto, and you can transform into your enemy, but you can also teach it any move in the entire game. It's probably one of the most fun Pokemon to use in a playthrough. If you've never played Gen 1, I would urge you to play it with a Mew. There's a very simple glitch you can look up. It does not take a lot of time to do. You do not need a lot of experience. I think you just need a Pokemon that can teleport or fly. That is the only requirement you need, and you can get a Mew for free, basically. And you need one. It is honestly fantastic, and it is a fun Pokemon to use. It's got a cool design. It's so cool that my fiance's online handle has Mew in it because she loves it that much. So under duress and on my own accord, I'm going to put it in the S tier. Now, what about Mewtwo, though? If you think it's not as good as modern day legendaries, or you hate it compared to modern legendaries, I entirely understand. I think with Mewtwo as well, it was another... You kind of just had to be there. Go as a kid, right? You walk across Cerulean City. You see that one guy blocking one cave in the game. And then he says to you, only strong trainers can go into this cave. And you're like, how strong do I have to be? And then when you finally beat it, because you've had that in your mind the entire game, you go through your entire journey wondering, what did he mean by this? He said, I cannot go in this cave until I become the strongest trainer. So when you finally do, and you go back to Cerulean City, and you notice that man isn't in that cave anymore, and you reach and explore its depths, you find a level 70 Mewtwo, the strongest Pokemon you have probably seen by a noteworthy margin. The strongest type in Gen 1 as well, with psychics that will one-shot every one of your Pokemon. If you didn't have your Master Ball at this point, if you didn't save it, you're gonna wish you did, because Mewtwo's just like, it was such a cool Pokemon to have. Like, I think having like a really big power fantasy Pokemon to end your game off was honestly the best way you could have finished a Pokemon game. I think Mewtwo served that function really well, in combination with the lore of the movies and the anime and all of that, and Smash Brothers as well. He's my main in Smash 4 as well. In Smash Ultimate I can play him too, but not so much. I think Mewtwo has to be in an S tier easily, right guys? Come on. There we go, gamers. Not megas, because good lord, this video is long enough. There you go, including megas. There you have the Gen 1 list. So what did you make of that, huh? I'm sure there's plenty of agreements and disagreements. Are you as upset with the Raichu placement as my fiance was? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. The video's been long enough, so I'll leave you on your merry way. But if you've made it this far, be sure to give it a like. Subscribe if you're new here. And until next time, there's your lot.